1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025 1063 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live from the presented by Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios on a Fireball Hot Take Friday, and it is freaking packed inside a Barrel House here at Bridgestone Arena as we've got kind of the end of the Alabama crowd in here because they're crushing Mississippi State, and we got all the Tennessee fans in here because they're getting ready to play Missouri. And the reason that all these people are in here is because the SEC does not allow you to drink alcohol outside of Barrel House, which, I mean, the SEC, come on, man. We'll get into that later. But it is a football day here on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. Ian's here today. Hello, Ian. How are you?
What up, what up? How's it going?
Good. So it is a football day today. It is the Free Agency Eve program, which means at 4 o'clock today, we will have our official free agency plan for the Titans. And I just want everybody to know that I watched the Vanderbilt game last night, and I was probably over around like 11:30, something like that. But once it was like over, like you kind of felt like you knew that it was over. Once it was over, I was like, okay, now I'm going to work on this free agency plan. And so I probably spent about 2 hours on it last night. And I mean, I'm talking about looking at salaries and looking at, okay, if I convert this to signing bonus, this is the one day a year on this radio program that the salary cap matters. It's the one day we pretend like the salary cap's real. So here I am, trying to restructure contracts and give them a signing bonus here and take it out to there and everything else. But at 4 o'clock, we will have the official free agency plan. And let me say this. This was the hardest free agency plan that I have done over the last 3 years with the Titans. And the number one reason why it was so freaking difficult is because the Titans have a boatload of needs. Now, the draft, I'm more of a believer in the best player available. Does anybody remember the fact that the Titans were paying Jarrell Casey and Daquan Jones a bunch of money when they drafted Jeffrey Simmons in the first round? Or that wide receiver wasn't a need in 2019 when they had Corey Davis and they had signed Adam Humphries to a big contract and they had Taywan Taylor, who they thought was going to be a player for them, and Tajay Sharp was on that team. So they didn't need a receiver, and they still went out and drafted A.J. Brown. So in the draft, I believe in best player available. In free agency, I believe in filling needs. Here are the needs of the Titans. Left tackle, left guard, center today because of because the announcement that the Titans, or I don't know if the Titans have announced they're releasing Ben Jones, but A to Z Sports reported they're releasing Ben Jones. Right guard, right tackle, I put a question mark by because I'm not convinced that Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, a.k.a. PT, as Chris Sanders calls him, I'm not convinced that PT is a good enough starting right tackle in the NFL. And so I had to put a question mark by that, though knowing all the needs, it's going to be hard for me not to see him at right tackle next year. Wide receiver 2, Traylon Burks right now is penciled in at wide receiver 1, but wide receiver 2, they cut Robert Woods, who knows about that. Wide receiver 3, Nick Westbrook-Akine is a free agent. Tight end 1 or tight end 2. I mean, Chigakonkwo, I think he's good, but is he number 1 tight end material? I don't know yet. So if you get another guy in there, they're going to play a lot. Quarterback number 2 is a need. Folks, it ain't Malik Willis. I mean, I even had an argument today with somebody about Malik Willis, saying, oh, no, how can you not think Malik was not given a chance to succeed? And Malik, if they need a special playbook for Malik, and guys, if you're my backup quarterback and I have to have a special playbook for you, or I have to change the offense for you, or I have to change the personnel for you, then you're not a backup quarterback. The job of the backup quarterback is to be able to run what the first quarterback runs. So it ain't Malik, folks. So quarterback 2 is a need. Defensive tackle is a need. Tier Tart is a restricted free agent. Defensive end or another defensive tackle, because what we saw when Harold Landry got hurt last year was they started playing Danico Autry a lot out on the end. So that is a need for the Titans, whether it's an outside linebacker, a defensive end, or even an extra defensive tackle to move Autry out a little bit. They're going to need another one of those. Guys like DeMarcus Walker and Mario Edwards Jr., those guys are free agents, and I would consider bringing those guys back. Inside linebacker is a need because David Long Jr. is a free agent, and I am a huge David Long Jr. fan. But again, David Long Jr. bit by the injury bug the last couple of years. That's a concern. And then is he going to get real money? Because the last 2 years when he's been on the field, he's been a really good player. So is there going to be a team out there that looks at David Long Jr. and says, hey, we'll give you 4 years and $6.5 million per year? Because if that's what he's getting out in free agency, goodbye, see ya, congratulations, you were a good player for the Titans. I think corner is a need for the Titans. And I am kind of specific when I say corner. It needs to be an outside corner. It needs to be, doesn't have to be a number one corner, but it needs to be a corner that can line up outside, that can match up with a taller wide receiver. You know, Roger McCreary is more of a slot corner in my opinion, and even then I think he still struggles a little bit. Elijah Molden is a nickel, a slot corner that the Titans have. So they've got Fulton on the outside. McCreary can play the outside if he has to, but I want to get a guy in here that can line up outside and is a little bit taller so that he can match up with a guy like T. Higgins better than a short guy like Roger McCreary can. So I think corner's a need. Punt returner is a need. Absolutely. I mean, this idea that it's not Craig Aukerman's fault that they can't catch punts, if that's the case, if we can't blame the coaching and we can't coach them up on how to catch punts, then you better go out there and get somebody who can. Because the Jacksonville Jaguars last year had one of the best in the business in Agnew in returning kickoffs, and he was an absolute weapon for them, and he beat you in that last game of the year. So enough with let's just stick some stiff back there. Let's wave our hands in the air, catch it, and say, let's Mark Mariani, no disrespect, but no, done with that. And they need a kicker. And preferably a kicker that can, hit from 48 yards consistently. Unlike what they've had the last couple of years, whether it was Ryan Suckup or Steven Gostkowski could hit, but he was somewhat inconsistent. And then obviously mini-leg the last couple of years, anytime you asked him to kick anything further than 45, you had to lock arms in the section and just hold on together like you're the players and pray that the ball would just get to the uprights. So again, just to recap that, left tackle, left guard, center. Again, they released Ben Jones today, reportedly. Right guard, maybe right tackle, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 2, quarterback 2, defensive tackle, defensive end or defensive tackle or outside linebacker, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, and kicker. That's a lot. That's a lot. And they need to fill these spots, not just with guys that can help. I don't think the Titans can go out and add an impact all-pro caliber player in free agency. But I think they need guys that can stay on the field. So the number one thing I thought about when I went around looking up and down at the free agents as to who was out there, who would be available, the number one thing I thought, who can stay on the field? It's like I'll read your text and I'll see people will text into the text line and they'll say, what about re-signing Taylor Lewan to a 3-year deal? Well, what is that going to do for you when he pops his knee again? You have to think that's a real possibility. He is injury prone. It's not going to do you any good. I don't care if you feel good about it today that you signed him to a 6-year contract or to a $3 million contract. They don't care about that. What does that do? If he doesn't make it 5 games, it doesn't help you no matter how cheap it is. It makes you feel better. We got a left tackle for $3 million. I needed guys who could stay on the field. I also don't think the Titans will be players for big-name guys. I don't think they'll be players for Orlando Brown. I don't think they'll be players for Mike McGlinchey. In fact, I know they're not going to be players for Mike McGlinchey. I don't think they're going to be players for any of the big-name guys out there. Alan Lazard, Jacoby Myers. And you can laugh and say, Jacoby Myers is a big-name guy. In this economy, yes, he is. And I don't think they're going to be players there. And the other thing that I'll bring up is I am okay at the end of the day if the Titans leave open a couple of these needs because of the draft. But you can't leave them all open. You've only got 6 picks. And not only do you have 6 picks, but Aren't you glad you took the best player available in 2019 when you drafted Jeffrey Simmons? Aren't you glad you took the best player available in 2019 when you drafted A.J. Brown? They got to take the best player available. And so if they get there at pick 11 and there's a superstar that they think is going to be awesome, let's say Micah Parsons, for instance, who I think went with the 12th pick 2 years ago. If that guy's there, you got to take him. You can't not take that kind of player. You can't say, oh, well, we need a left guard, so we got to take a left guard, even though we think this outside pass rusher, this wide receiver, this quarterback, whatever it may be, you got to rely on that. And so you only have 6 picks, and it's not like you can bank on your 5th-round pick starting right away, or you can bank on your 6th-round pick starting right away, or you can bank on a 7th-round pick starting right away. I mean, there's just no way to do that. I mean, so in all seriousness, where we sit today, the Titans have their work cut out for them. They start off, according to Spotrac, with $27.28 million available to them in free agency. Now, the good news is that's only $132 million in cash. And last year they spent $230 million on players at the end of the season. They went into the year at $217 million. So at least you've got money if your budget is similar to last year. But that cap space with all those holes, and again, today is the one day that we will pretend that the salary cap is real. That cap space, it concerns me. So again, tons of needs. I don't think Monday is going to be a big day for the Titans. Maybe 1 or 2 guys that they hit on early that just take the deals because they don't want to get sent out into purgatory where they're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for a deal. Maybe 1 or 2 guys. But again, I think it's going to be a slow process throughout the course of the week. But again, left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, maybe right tackle, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 2, quarterback 2, defensive tackle, defensive end or defensive tackle, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, and kicker. Damn. That's a lot of needs. That is a lot of needs for this football team. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in. 615-737-1025. Now, there is one thing that I am absolutely not willing to do. And I think there's a lot of people out there that think one of 3 things could happen, and I'm not interested in any of the 3 things. We'll get to that coming up next. Fireball Hot Take Friday. We're live from Bridgestone Arena. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
We are your home for every big pass.
Kevin Harvick takes over the race lead.
Big wreck.
Trouble turn 2. One car is around and hard into the outside wall.
And big win.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has won the Daytona 500.
Yeah! Woo!
Catch every lap of NASCAR on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
Do you take pride in your work? Do you want to help build Nashville? Need to join Ironworkers Local 492. They build Nashville, working on everything from steel erection on buildings and bridges, plant maintenance, concrete, reinforcing, conveyor work, sheeting, welding, rigging, fence erecting, curtain wall, window wall, and a variety of other specialty work. They provide the best skilled iron workers for contractors and projects in Nashville. If you want to build Nashville, you want to be proud of doing it, visit ironworkers492.org. Join Ironworkers Local 492.
Losing your hair? It's Chase McCabe. No matter your age, gender, or type of hair loss, it's never a good feeling when you see too much hair in your brush or you begin to notice bald spots. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 members get hair they love. If you're affected by hair loss and not sure what to do, let Hair Club help customize a solution for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today and get started at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Sports and leadership go hand in hand. In fact, 94% of women executives were student athletes. Play Like a Girl is creating a more equal playing field for the next generation of women in leadership. You can help too. Become a mentor, donor, or volunteer. Learn more at iplaylikeagirl.org/mentor.
Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hi, this is Chef Mark again from Bob's Steak and Chop House at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Come join us before any Preds game or concert at Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy one of our prime steaks. Why Bob's, you may ask? Because at Bob's, we not only serve prime beef, but the top 2% of prime beef in the world. Try our certified Japanese A5 or Australian tomahawks. So come see us at Omni before you go to any game and make sure to ask for Chef Mark. Let's go Preds!
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Bob's Steak and Chop House in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Anyone want to tell me what happened?
Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Stillman and Company podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to thegamenashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I mean, Ryan's done a great job. Ryan's won a lot of football games, as you guys know. He's been a diligent worker. He's been in the building every day, rehabbing and getting his work in. So he's under contract. I'm excited about moving forward with him. And, like I said, he's done a lot of great things. I have a ton of respect for him. Ryan is under contract. I know you guys, I just want to speak freely for a moment. I know everybody wants to make a big deal, out of the quarterback position and whether he will or won't be here. But you guys just have to accept the fact that Ryan is under contract, for us. And right now he's a Titan and he will be a Titan.
There you go. That was Ran Carthon at the Combine last week about Tannehill. We thought, does that bring clarity to the discussion? Does that tell us that Ryan Tannehill is going to be the quarterback? And some people said yes and some people said no, and who knows? Now, I do think the Titans are going to run it back with Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, which is what I think they should do. But one thing that a lot of people are going to complain about, either today, this weekend, but especially on Monday, what's going to happen is people are going to look and say, they got to do something about these cap hits. This cap hit for Ryan Tannehill, $36.6 million. That's way too much money against the cap. This cap hit for Derrick Henry, $16.3 million. That's way too much money against the cap. I heard the Midday Show talking today about how, maybe the Titans need to go to Derrick Henry and tell him that he's got to restructure his contract and lower that cap number and everything else. And we know the Titans have been shopping Derrick Henry, and we know the Titans, no matter how many times we ask, will not 100% commit to Tannehill. So there's three different things that could happen here. The Titans could release either guy and clear up a bunch of cap space. For Tannehill, they'd have to designate it as a post-June 1st cap hit. But they would clear up a lot of space. They could release Henry, and they would clear up $6 million in cap space. They would save a lot of cash, $27 million for Tannehill, $10.5 million for Henry. They could save some cash doing that, and they could go out and get other players. They could extend Ryan Tannehill and Derrick Henry, so that all of a sudden the Titans are now, lowering the cap number, but Tannehill and Henry probably get a little bit more money up front, and you've got them beyond this season. I wouldn't necessarily advise that. The third thing is they could restructure the contract. They could go to each guy and say, okay, instead of your $27 million salary, Ryan Tannehill, we're going to make this a $26 million signing bonus We're going to spread that out. We're going to add void years to the contract, and we're going to spread that out. They could essentially do the same thing with Derrick Henry. Let me just say, I am not in favor of either option. And I'm not in favor of any of them, and I'm going to tell you why. Because as far as Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are concerned, I think they should get one more year. I think this group, Henry, Tannehill, Byard, Simmons, Autry, the pillars of this team, I think they should get one more year. I spent all day yesterday saying that you should run it back one last go-round with Tannehill, with Henry, and just see how far you can go. I heard today, people talking about this idea of, well, you know that you're not going to win the Super Bowl with those guys, so why even try? And I thought to myself, did we know in 2019 with Mariota, did we know that team was capable of going to the AFC Championship game? I don't think we did. I actually have, for some reason, the Athlon Sports magazine from 2019 in my backpack. That was on vacation in Mexico a couple of weeks, and I was just looking for something to read. And I looked at the predictions from 2019. They didn't even have the Titans making the playoffs. They had Indianapolis winning the division. You want to know why they had Indianapolis winning the division? Because they had Andrew Luck. So I say all of this to say, I think they deserve one more crack at it. And the reason why I wouldn't restructure it, and the reason why I wouldn't extend it, even if it's kind of some phony baloney whatever, is because at the end of this year, I want to be able to go in a different direction. I am pro Henry and Tannehill, but I still also understand that if they don't get it done this year, that if this team doesn't get back to the level they were in 2021 when they were the number 1 seed and they were a legitimate competitor for the Super Bowl, if this team doesn't do what they did in 19 where they made a run to the AFC title game, if this team doesn't do, these two guys, they don't do what they did in 2020, Derrick Henry ran for 2,000 yards and Ryan Tannehill was one of the most efficient passers in the league. If they don't do that and this team doesn't win, then you can start over. That's why you look at some of the money the Titans could kick into next year and restructure Harold Landry and give Jeffrey Simmons a contract and all these other things. Well, if Henry and Tannehill aren't here, then they'll be able to do essentially whatever they want because Henry and Tannehill's money will be off the books. Now, you might suck. Now, you might be in quarterback purgatory. You might be like the Atlanta Falcons, and you're looking at yourself saying, well, we have Desmond Ridder, and we could go get Baker Mayfield, or we could go get Sam Darnold, but not sure you can really feel good about your team. And that may be where you are next year. But I'm not ready to rebuild like everybody else is. I'm not ready to say, okay, well, got to do something about this. But I'm also, speaking of the Falcons, not willing to do what they did with their group that got them to that one Super Bowl where they were up 28-3 and they lost to the Patriots, and they just kept running it back. I am willing to just put it down right now and say this is it. This is it for Henry and Tannehill. This is your last shot. This is the last dance of this group, of this era. And if you pleasantly surprise me and you end up in the Super Bowl, now we'll make some different decisions. If you do what everybody else on this radio station apparently assumes the Titans are absolutely going to do no matter what, which is go 9-8 or 8-9 or whatever, then start over. Then Henry and Tannehill move on after this year, and then you go draft a quarterback, or you draft a running back and you sign a quarterback, or whatever. Fine. And if you don't extend these guys and if you don't restructure these guys, then you don't have to worry about anything extra coming into next year. And then you are scot-free. Then you are officially done with the Henry and Tannehill era. Even if they release Derrick Henry, he's got a $16 million cap hit, there will still be a $10 million dead cap charge. Is it really worth the $6 million? And again, when it comes to signing guys, by my logic, you can't just sign everybody to one-year deals, but I would look for a lot of one-year contracts, 1-2-year contracts, where you can get out of the contract, low signing bonuses, things like that, so that you can build it around this year, this team, this group, those two. And then at the end of the year, you can do whatever you want. You want to extend Ryan Tannehill? You can extend him. You want to extend Derrick Henry? You can extend him. You want to franchise tag them? Now, again, they both have void years in their deal, which means there is a certain date in which the contract automatically voids. And if that date is before the franchise tag window, then it doesn't matter. If the date is after, then you can franchise tag them. And I don't know, I haven't looked at either contract, but fine. But I want to give myself the option to completely move on after next year. And I know a lot of you are cheering for that right now, and I get it. But I'm not ready for that, and I don't think this team is in a place to where they can afford to do that. I mean, I said yesterday, this team was 7-3 last year with Henry and Tannehill calling the shots. Then all of a sudden, Tannehill gets hurt, and then Danico Autry gets hurt, and all of a sudden, fire the general manager, and it all goes to crap. And the offensive line was terrible. Offensive coordinator was terrible. They fired the offensive line coach. They fired the offensive coordinator. They fired the entire offensive line, basically. Let's see. But I'm not promising anything after that. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. D-Mace had a take today that, one, I could not believe, and two, he would have never been for if he was in this situation. We'll get to that next. Live from the SEC Tournament, Stillman and Company on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. TriStar Moving, they're my official movers. I moved with TriStar a couple of years ago, and it was a fabulous experience. If you are tight on cap space, I advise you giving them a bid, because TriStar Moving will do an excellent job. And when you get bids from other moving companies, you'll realize the process with TriStar Moving is so great, so easy, so stress-free that you're going to go with them. That's TriStar Moving. Give them a call at 615-640-1219 or visit them online at nashvillemoving.org/radio, and they'll give you 10% off your entire move if you tell them that I sent you. That's a lot of money in a move, 10%. So give them a call, 615-640-1219. Again, move with my friends at TriStar Moving. Those are my guys, TriStar Moving, nashvillemoving.org/radio. Tell them Jared Stillman sent you. For TriStar Moving, my official movers.
I think it's a really good move. TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
You do not trade Derrick Henry. Let's stop it right now. You do not trade him. You want to cut Robert Woods? You want to cut Bud Dupree? You want to cut Taylor Lewan? You want to cut big boy Randy Bullock? You want to do all of those things? Fine. You want to re-sign Nate Davis? You don't want to re-sign Nate Davis? I don't care. But if you want to be good next year, you do not trade Derrick Henry. And if you want to do this the right way, you don't try to get out of Derrick Henry a year too soon. You ride it out. It was hard watching the Steelers that last year with Ben. But they did it because you ride it out when he's your franchise icon. And Derrick Henry is your franchise icon.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
More than 95% of people incarcerated will come home like I did. I'm William Arnold, director of the new Tennessee Office of Reentry. When they come home, we want to be ready to help remove barriers to employment. It's okay if you've been incarcerated or justice involved. Help is available. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
What's up, everybody? Michelle Knesvik here for Superbook Sports. And listen, make 2023 the year you beat Vegas. Superbook Sports gives you the chance every week to go head-to-head with the best odds makers in Las Vegas. No fancy computer algorithms, no guys across the pond setting lines for American sports, just the best team of odds makers in the business behind the counter at Superbook in Las Vegas. Plus, check out some of the best odds boosts and promo bets anywhere. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app or visit superbook.com to start your battle against Vegas right now. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Join 102.5 The Game live from the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th.
And the three is good.
Take in the first round of games during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts all month long during the tournament.
Yes! What a shot!
Plus a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts. There's also great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's Friday, March 17th at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage. Doors open at 10.
Hey Nashville, this is David Price. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You mentioned offensive line, Mike. I mean, how big a challenge is it? You could potentially have as many as 3 new starters next year.
Could have 5, Jimmy. I don't know. I'm not in the prediction business. I don't know, but I know that we're going to find guys that exhibit the way that we want to play within the framework of the rules, and that they finish and they value staying between their man and a quarterback.
There you go. That was Mike Vrabel last week. And we were all kind of wondering about Ben Jones. And we were like, so is Ben coming back after the concussions? What's going to happen? And apparently he's being released. So to Vrabel's point, they're going to have a new left tackle. They're going to probably have a new left guard. They're going to have a new center. They're probably going to have a new right guard. And who knows about Nicholas Petit-Ferrer at right tackle? I didn't think he was very good last year. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com on a Fireball Hot Take Friday, 615-737-1025. James is going to kick us off today. Thank you for calling. What's up, James?
Hey, Jared. Thanks for taking my call, my man. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to key you up on this. It was inevitable about the Ben Jones news today coming down. I didn't know he was going to be cut, but figured he wasn't going to be back. Figured we had to reload and probably fix 4 out of the 5 spots on the starting offensive line. You can move MPF around, but after today and all the holes, everything we got to, fill in, you feel like we need to go ahead and re-sign Nate Davis to have some continuity in the room in the offensive line group, and then go out and get like an Orlando Brown Jr., maybe even Clady's out of Atlanta, something like that.
Who?
Kind of help plug in. Ryan Clady. I think he's a guard.
I think Ryan Clady played like 15 years ago. But let me say this, and I appreciate your call, James. I do not think that Ben Jones is coming back. Nate Davis. I do not think Nate Davis is coming back. This reminds me of a couple of years ago when everybody was saying, like, oh, we got to bring back Jack Conklin, and the Titans didn't do it. The Titans didn't really do any. They brought back Dennis Kelly, and they just went on with it. With this, here's the problem with the Titans. First of all, I don't think Vrabel likes Nate Davis. I've been told Vrabel doesn't like Nate Davis. But Nate Davis is not a 100% healthy guy. And the Titans need guys that can stay on the field. And not only that, Nate Davis doesn't stink or anything like that, but I don't think Nate Davis is some great offensive guard. And I think there's a big difference between, say, Nate Davis and Quentin Nelson. And the reason I say that is because I think Nate Davis is going to get a lot of money. I think Nate Davis is going to be probably the top guard on the market. And so, if he's looking at $14, $15, $16 million a season, that's not going to fly around here. They don't have the money. He's sitting there talking about, let's go get Orlando Brown Jr., and let's go keep Nate Davis. Well, if you do that, and you can do that, but if you do that, you've got almost no money to improve your defense. You got no money to improve wide receiver, and you cannot take the best player available if you do that because you can't draft offensive line. And then you still have probably Aaron Brewer playing center, which I'm not totally in favor of. So D-Mace this midday, earlier today, they were talking about Derrick Henry. And D-Mace has been off this week, and so Caroline was bringing up the whole shopping element and everything else. And Derek Mason was talking about how we need to take our emotion out when it comes to Derrick Henry. Here's what D-Mace said.
I think it's difficult when you allow your emotions to be a part of what you're doing. If you're just doing it from a strictly business standpoint, this is not a hard decision. And I think this is why it will be more of a Rand Carthon decision than a Mike Vrabel decision, because Mike Vrabel, he has a big interest in Derrick Henry. Mm-hmm. He's watched Derrick Henry get better and grow as a person. Rand Carthon wasn't a part of any of this. So that emotional tie is not with Rand Carthon. That emotional tie is with Mike Vrabel. So this has to be a Rand Carthon thing, saying, hey, Mike, convincing Mike that this is the best thing to do moving forward. Because Mike is he will probably look at it as the guys that he loves.
Okay. Hey, we got to take the emotion out of it. I know Derrick Henry's a great Titan, but we got to take the emotion out of this. We got to stop thinking about how it makes us feel and everything else. And then he was asked straight up by Caroline, so do you think they should move off of Derrick Henry?
All great things come to an end. Everybody has to leave one way or another. Either you're going to get cut or you're going to retire, one of the two. And in this situation with Derrick Henry, all good things eventually come to an end. I'm not saying that it's a must that they trade him, but if you're moving forward as an organization and you got things that you need to do, then he may be one of those guys that you have to move on from. Next guy is going to be Kevin Byard. Not this season, but next season. Mark my words.
So he's saying, hey, it was a nice run, but we can't get too emotional about Derrick Henry and what he's meant to the franchise, and we can't worry about that, and Vrabel's too attached, and it's just time to move on because at some time all good things come to an end, which is fine. But I think it's a mischaracterization of the situation. It's almost like we're talking about Derrick Henry like Derek Jeter was at the end of the Yankees when he was like a 240 hitter. It's like we're talking about Derrick Henry like Ben Roethlisberger the last year in Pittsburgh, where Ben was the quarterback and it was all sentimental. They play that last game on Monday Night Football, and Ben takes a walk around the stadium, and he goes down the tunnel with his kids and everything else. But you knew at that point, Ben Roethlisberger couldn't play anymore. That's not the case with Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is still good. Derrick Henry is still the best player on this offense. He might be the best player on this team. He made the Pro Bowl last year, and not the fake everybody makes the Pro Bowl, but he was a voted-in player to the Pro Bowl. He was second in the league in rushing. And if Derek Mason were on this Titans team, he wouldn't be thinking about, we got to get some value for him while we still can because next year we might not be able to get any value for him. He'd be saying, no, we're trying to win. And if we're going to try to win, we're going to need to do it with Derrick Henry. Because trading away Derrick Henry or releasing Derrick Henry, while it may make you a better team next season or it may make you a better team 2 seasons from now, it doesn't make you a better team next year. And I know if Derrick was on this team, that he would be saying, no, we're not trading Derrick Henry. But now it's like, we got to get something for him? Why? Why do you have to get something for him? I mean, did the Predators get anything for Pekka Rinne? No, they used him for his entire career. And then when he was done and it was time, he retired and they didn't get a pick in exchange for him. And I'm okay with that. That should be what they do with Derrick Henry. And I asked Caroline, I was like, tell Derrick this. Say this to Derrick. And she did. And he was kind of in, kind of out, kind of. But I was like, in 2003, Eddie George was a shell of himself. He was not the same Eddie George anymore. And this was not the same give it to Eddie George all the time kind of team. And so in 2003, the Titans ran it back. 2002, they were in the AFC Championship game. They ran it back in 2003. They were up against the cap, but they tried to win. They won it. And they still made the playoffs. And I guarantee you, if Floyd Reese had said to Derrick at that time, hey, we're going to trade Eddie George because we can get a 4th-round pick for Eddie George, D. Mace would have said, hell no, you don't. No, you do not. You do not trade Eddie George when we are trying to win the Super Bowl. The next year, Eddie wasn't the same guy anymore. They asked Eddie to take a pay cut because Eddie wasn't that kind of player. And they ended up releasing Eddie George. They didn't get anything in exchange for him. That's fine. That's how this works. But this idea, what it means to me, this is the question I have for everybody that's like, well, we got to trade Derrick while his value's up because Derrick's value may not. Are we trying to win games? I mean, serious question. When we think about this team, are we trying to win football games this season, are we trying to win football games, period? Or are we just trying to get picks? Are we trying to tell everybody, hey, we got a fourth-round pick for Derrick Henry? Woo! What are we trying to do? To me, we're trying to win football games. And like I said, if it doesn't work out this year, Henry and Tannehill, then you start over next year. But at this point, that fourth-round pick, I mean, that's probably an average player that you're going to have for 4 years after this year. I got Derrick Henry, who's still second in the league, who's still an elite player. Even if he's not as good as he was 2 years ago, he's still an elite player. He's the only elite player I have on my offense. Why am I trying to get rid of him? Why is it an emotional decision? I mean, I told you guys in the last segment, I'm not extending his contract. I'm not reworking his contract. I'm not doing anything with that. I mean, he's got to go out there. He's year to year at this point. I'm fine with it. But this idea of we got to get something for Derrick right now, or we got to take our feelings out of it. He's not the same Derrick Henry anymore. He is the best player on the offense right now. So if you are trying to win football games right now, then you keep Derrick Henry. And I think that whole commentary, I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy talk. And I get why the Titans were shopping him, even though I wouldn't have done it. I get it. I understand why they were doing it. But, I mean, at this point, the idea of, hey, let's just, team is what it is. Let's just move off. Why? So that you can start your rebuild right now instead of next year? I mean, you're not going to be bad enough no matter what you do to be able to pick Caleb Williams anyway, so it doesn't matter. 615-737-1025. Texter says, I think a possible quarterback to look at if this system is available in next year's draft is J.J. McCarthy at Michigan. I do not care about that stuff. Do not care. LD from McMinnville says, it's funny you're talking about emotions and feelings when that's what you're doing right now. My emotion and my feeling is this team was 7-3 last year. They lost to the two AFC finalists by a total of 7 points. This team had a horrible offensive coordinator last year. This team had a horrible offensive line last year. This team is going into free agency. The guy that you're the most mad at, the general manager, he got fired. So you got a new general manager in here, so you got to hope he's going to be able to find good players. You got a high draft pick that could probably come in and help you right away. You're not that far away. I don't get it. Again, in 2019, when the Titans went to the AFC Championship game, did we think the Titans were contenders that year? No, we didn't. I mean, I said to Derek, I go, why didn't the team just tear it down after they finished 7-9 in 2001? Why did they run it back for 2002? I mean, it's crazy talk. 615-737-1025. More your phone, 615-737-1025 here on the program. Stillman and Company, we are live here at Bridgestone Arena at the SEC basketball tournament. And again, be sure to check out all of our coverage, including our live reports, which are presented by Toyota. That's right, our reports here brought to you by Toyota. Buy at Toyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
185! Every team needs a quarterback. 185! That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown.
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Michelle Knezvik here with your SEC Men's Basketball Tournament Courtside Report, brought to you by Superbook Sports. Alabama with a huge statement win, 72-49 over Mississippi State for their first game in Bridgestone Arena. They'll be advancing to the next round. The second game of the day, we've got Missouri and Tennessee. Tennessee kicks off with a 5.5 point favorite over Missouri. Missouri beat them earlier this season on a buzzer beater, but Tennessee coming off a 15-point win over Ole Miss. One of my keys to victory for the Tennessee Volunteers today is going to be utilizing their zone defense, especially without Zakai Ziegler. They need to attack Missouri based off of their defense, and offensively,
Josiah Jordan-James and Santiago Vescovi are going to be huge guys to get some points on the board for the Vols. This report is powered by Superbook Sports and Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app today and make your March basketball wagers now.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
If you missed the latest from Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace,
I would venture to say it's not likely that he'll be here after this year. Go ahead and go out with a bang. Keep him around.
Financially, it doesn't make sense. And in terms of this team and how it wants to compete, it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And Ian Rappaport says, I'm not sure what the market value would be for Derrick Henry. I believe if the Titans did decide to trade Derrick Henry, which I don't think that they will, but if they did decide to trade Derrick Henry this year, I don't think it would be to get picks. I don't think it would be because of the return. I think it would be a big decision that Vrabel and Rand Carthon would make about the direction of this football team and moving on without Derrick Henry. I don't think it's about the return. It's about a massive seismic shift within the organization, and whatever you can get back, you can get back.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace, weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Seafood Sensation. Often imitated but never duplicated, Seafood Sensation is Nashville's original seafood restaurant. Right now you can get half off a $25 gift card to their new location in Antioch at theGameNashville.com/deals and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more. That's Seafood Sensation, new location in Antioch at 2209 Murfreesboro Pike. Get half off a $25 gift card while they last at theGameNashville.com/deals.
A show that lives and breathes sports.
Focus in, focus in, focus in.
From the SEC.
Credit to the Alabamas, the Georgias, and the Ohio States of the world.
To the Preds.
They've been in a lot of really tight games, but they're not winning enough of them.
To the Titans.
He's talking about what this franchise has built over the years.
Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace.
What is this? Check it out.
Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You know, there's a reason why everyone's pointing at Buffalo, because it's high mileage. It's a position that no one wants to invest anything in acquiring running backs, and the sensible aspect of it. And I thought of it initially when I heard that. I'm like, oh, okay, so let me think in my mind what teams, you have to be in your Super Bowl window now. You have to be a team that, could be turned, if you're not there now in terms of your ability to run the football, you could be turned in that direction during the course of this offseason. I think that's Buffalo. I absolutely think that Buffalo is a team that makes some sense.
There you go. That was Charles Robinson talking about Buffalo being a team for Derrick Henry. That's good. You go from 2 years ago being right there as a contender in the conference to last year for 3/4 of the season being a contender in the conference to then giving one of the contenders in the conference your best player. I'm not sure that makes a lot of sense. Hey, by the way, be sure to play hooky next week with us and join us at 102.5 The Game at Jasper's, located at 1918 Weston Avenue, Thursday, March 16th, for the first day of the tournament. While you're there, take advantage of the shot and a beer special. That's a shot of Nelson's Greenbrier Tennessee whiskey, plus a bottled domestic beer for just $10. Jasper's, oversized bar, TVs, and game room make them the place to catch all the games. Titans in Truth. Chris is up next and has been waiting patiently on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Go ahead, Chris.
Jared, my friend, thank you for taking my call. Eric, I love you, but you are talking out of the side of your head on this one, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
You said the goal is to win games.
Yes.
Is it the ultimate goal to win a Super Bowl?
Sure.
The ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. Here's the problem with that. You're telling me right now, Tannehill and Henry can beat Mahomes.
Well, I mean, Tannehill and Henry have beaten Mahomes multiple times.
But they did not beat him recently. You're telling me Tannehill and Henry now can beat Josh Allen, Joe Burrow right now, or even Justin Herbert. They're not going to beat those teams right now. They're not built to beat them yet. And it's more of a passing league now, so it is time.
Chris, I hear what you're saying. I completely hear what you're saying. But you would agree with me that everything this year was bad outside of those two, right? You know, the offensive line was bad, the play calling was bad, the receivers were bad, all of that, right?
I would agree.
They lost by 3 to the Chargers on the road. They lost by 3 in overtime in the game. Tannehill didn't play against Kansas City. They lost by 4 against Cincinnati. I mean, you're acting like the Titans are so far away, and the idea of competing is just, you're talking about the Titans like they don't even belong on the same football field. And I'm telling you, because of Derrick Henry, they're in all these games.
What about Jacksonville? Lost by 14 at home to Jacksonville.
Right. And what did we blame that on, Chris?
That it was turnover.
No, we blamed it on the fact that they fired the general manager on Tuesday. That's never going to happen again. They lost by 4 with the third-string quarterback playing, and Derrick, when everybody in the yard knew he was getting the ball, Derrick had 100 yards, and it was when he came out of the game and the third-string quarterback fumbled that you lost.
I love Derrick Henry too, Jared. I do, but it's time for offensive philosophy change. And I think that's what they may be heading to embrace. It is inevitable.
So if you're going to change the philosophy of the offense, who's going to play quarterback for you in this new offense that you're talking about, this philosophy this season? Who is going to play quarterback for the Titans?
Yeah, there's only really 2 options. Now, I'm with you on this. I would go get C.J. Stroud if I can. If I can go up, if you said it yourself on this, if the Titans love C.J. Stroud that much, go get him. Because, again, with Vrabel and Tannehill, if they run it back, which most likely they're going to do, with Tannehill and Vrabel and Derrick Henry, we are not going to be good enough to get anywhere close to those guys next year when you have to move on, when you may move on from Tannehill and Henry.
See, here's what I'm saying. Chris, that's my point. Thank you for your call. That's my point. You're like, if we do this back with Tannehill and Henry and Vrabel, we're not going to be anywhere close to right. That's my point, is that you're going to win games. And this league is freaking weird. Nobody thought Jalen Hurts this time last year was a $50 million a year quarterback. Nobody even knew that Jalen Hurts was a starting quarterback for sure this time last year. Aaron Rodgers was the hottest quarterback. He was a 2-time MVP, and the Packers can't get rid of him fast enough. You're just assuming that what happened last year is what's going to happen this year, and I don't think that's fair. Now, if you want to argue that you can't win the Super Bowl with Tannehill and Henry, I'm not going to disagree. I don't think the Titans can win the Super Bowl this year, but that doesn't mean they shouldn't try. That's my point. Just because I don't think it can happen in a sport where all you have to do is, get hot at the right time. I mean, I struggle to understand, what all everybody thinks rebuilding in football looks like. I struggle to understand the idea. What do you think? So you take it down a couple of years and you're irrelevant, and all of a sudden everything good's going to fall into your lap? I'm sorry. What's happened to the Atlanta Falcons the last couple of years? They're average. And what's the way out for them? What's the way out for Carolina? What's the way out for Washington? What's the way out for New Orleans? What's the way out for all these teams that have been rebuilding over the last couple of years? There's no way out. That's why you keep trying to win. And for me, you guys think Vrabel's going to sit back and be like, okay, yeah, let's try to lose this year? No. And somebody texted and said, you're going to be happy with 9 or 10 wins. You won 9 games in 2019. You went to the AFC Championship game. You won 9 games that year. The only reason you made the playoffs is because you played the Houston Texans in Week 17, and they took all of their starters out because they had already won the division. That's the only reason you even made the playoffs that year. And you beat Tom Brady, you beat Lamar Jackson, and you ended up in the AFC title game. Do I think that that's likely to happen this season? No, but that's the NFL. Eli Manning has won 2 Super Bowls from the 6th seed, and I would tell you that Eli Manning is not capable of winning a Super Bowl if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. But he did. That's why you try to draft the best players, and you try to put them in a position to win. And this team, to me, is close to winning. Texter says, if you're shopping Henry to get something for him, why not shop Tannehill in the red-hot quarterback market? Otherwise, the Titans will get nothing for Tannehill next year. That would be the same logic. I agree. This idea of like, hey, let's make sure we get something for these guys and they don't walk out of here empty-handed. Why? Why not use the players until they're not good anymore and then go get new ones? And this is football. Unlike the other sports, like basketball and hockey and baseball, if a guy just decides at the end of his contract in the NHL he wants to leave and he's not coming back no matter what, there's nothing you can do. In football, ask Lamar Jackson how easy it is to decide where you want to go. It's not easy. But, man, this idea of everybody just wanting to wave the white flag on the season, free agency starts Monday. And everybody wants to just wave the white flag. Everybody, well, we can't win a Super Bowl, so why try? You didn't think in 2019 you were going to win the Super Bowl. You really thought in 2019, entering that season, that you were going to go on the road with the guy who was your backup quarterback at that time, in Ryan Tannehill, go on the road into Foxborough and beat Brady, Belichick, and the defending Super Bowl champions. You really thought that. Oh, my God. People. 615-737-1025. More of your phones we'll get into again live out here at the SEC Men's Basketball Tournament. Plus, there is one move that I feel like because the Titans made a first move, they've already kind of essentially decided another guy's fate on the roster. We'll get to that coming up next. And your phones, 615-737-1025. The college basketball tournament is right around the corner, and it's time for you to play for you to sign up to play the official Game Bracket Challenge brought to you by Twin Peaks, home of the 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Go to theGameNashville.com/bracket challenge or the Game Nashville app now to sign up to play. Brackets will open after the teams have been selected on Sunday. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
All the big plays.
Ball right to score. Yoshi sets up Matt Duchesne.
All the big stories.
For the Predators, are you holding on to what you got or are you selling some guys off?
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3.
Green flag is in the air.
It may not happen that way every game.
His shot stopped.
Gotta play better, gotta coach better.
TD Tigers.
The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
What's up, Nashville? Jeremy here at Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are a trendy, upscale, full-service bar and cigar lounge in the heart of downtown, 2 blocks from Bridgestone Arena, Ryman Auditorium, and Nissan Stadium. Come check out the best old-fashioned in Nashville and let my excellent staff create your next luxury experience. With our state-of-the-art ventilation system and imported leather furniture, make us your next stop for a night out on the town. Blend Bar with Davidoff Cigars. We are luxury redefined.
Your Game Center update.
This Game Center update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. Another fun day at Bridgestone Arena as the SEC basketball tournament is in full force. In the first game, number 1 seed Alabama cruised by Mississippi State 72-49. Tennessee and Missouri are currently underway as the winner will take on Bama tomorrow. Vanderbilt is looking to make another case for their tourney chances tonight when they take on Kentucky. Coverage on the Vanderbilt Sports Network begins at 8 on 93.3 Classic Hits. The moves in the NFL offseason continue. According to A to Z Sports, the Tennessee Titans are releasing center Ben Jones. And the Nashville Predators' playoff chances took a hit last night with a 4-1 loss to the lowly Arizona Coyotes. The Preds are still 6 points behind Winnipeg for the final wildcard spot. The team announced that they have reassigned forward John Leonard to AHL Milwaukee. Nashville will look to rebound in LA on Saturday night against the Kings. This update is brought to you by the law offices of Amanda J. Gentry. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUZ HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willie, D-Bay.
Stillman and Company. Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
1025 and 1063.
Cranks it, he scores!
On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 1063 The Game, streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live, thanks to Superbook Sports. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios on this Fireball Hot Take Friday. Bridgestone Arena at the SEC Men's Basketball Tournament. And again, be sure to check out our updates on 1025 The Game, brought to you by Toyota. Buy at Toyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. So there was one big kind of nugget of news today that came out. Ian mentioned it right there in his update. The Titans have decided to release Ben Jones. And I don't know if that was a Ben Jones can't play anymore kind of thing with all the concussions and all the injuries, or if that was a we're not paying Ben Jones $8 million at his age anymore kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if Ben Jones is going to retire, if they didn't cut him. I don't know any of that. So that I'm not sure. But the one thing that it probably does mean, and honestly, I kind of hate saying this, because in 1 hour we'll have our official Titans, you have it right here, off-season free agency plan. The one thing I kind of hate is that it probably means that Aaron Brewer is coming back. Now, Aaron Brewer is a restricted free agent, and they can offer him a right of first refusal tender at $2.6 million. So if the Titans offer Aaron Brewer $2.6 million, he can go around and he can go play for any other team, just like kind of Lamar Jackson, but instead of the first 2 picks, the Titans could just match the contract or let him go off to wherever he wants to go. Aaron Brewer's probably not a $2.6 million player, and it drives me crazy the idea that the Titans walked into the season last year saying, we can put a 270-pound guy at guard. And when I would watch the tape, and I would sit there and watch that end zone camera where you would see kind of the running plays develop or the passing plays, and I would see, especially in rundowns where kind of everybody knew Derrick Henry was getting the ball, I'd see a team like the Raiders take a 340-pound Jonathan Hankins and just stick him right over 270-pound Aaron Brewer. Or I'd see, what's the big guy's name for the Colts? I can't remember. They got some big old fatty in there, Grover Stewart. They'd put him right there over Aaron Brewer, and he'd just push him back every time. And, I mean, I know that, he's probably better off at center than he is at guard, and I know Vrabel likes his effort, And he was healthy for most of the year, which is better than all the other guys that are on the offensive line. But I really don't want Aaron Brewer starting next year. He's just too little. And I hate to say it. It's like Bryce Young. Everybody tells me that it doesn't matter that Bryce Young's little. I'm like, when did it stop mattering that you weren't little? It always mattered in the NFL what your size is. I mean, you could be a great post player. And, there's an example for everything. Oh, this guy was short and he was good, or this guy was skinny and he was good, or Charles Barkley was 6'4" and he was able to play power forward in the NBA, whatever it may be. But you can't play guard at 270 pounds. And I really don't like the idea of you playing center at 270 pounds. The Oilers used to have a center by the name of Mark Stepnoski. And Stepnoski was about 260 pounds. And he was a Pro Bowl center when he was in Dallas. Well, that's the one guy to do it. Other than that, everybody's 308, 319, 324, It's a big man's game now. So Aaron Brewer, man, I'm telling you, I think he's coming back. But I really, really don't want Aaron Brewer starting next year. 615-737-1025. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, will join us later this hour. Richard from Murfreesboro says, been listening today from New Orleans. Jared, I agree with you. If you trade Derrick Henry, the season is over before it begins. I don't understand why nobody wants to see how this team does this season. But does nobody think this team can win? I mean that with total sincerity. Does nobody think this team can win? I mean, I don't think the Giants can win the Super Bowl. But I'm not telling them, you know what, move off of Daniel Jones, start over. I'm not doing that. How many quarterbacks in this league do you think their fans can wake up this morning and say, we got this guy at quarterback so we can win the Super Bowl? How many guys? Can Jacksonville really wake up this morning and say, we got Trevor Lawrence, we can win the Super Bowl? I don't think they can. I asked the question last week when Joe had that cockamamie article up that the Titans should trade all their first-round picks and Jeffrey Simmons to move up and draft Bryce Young. And I was like, would you do that for Trevor Lawrence? And I think everybody was kind of like, no. I mean, the Chargers, they probably think they can win the Super Bowl. They don't have any fans, though. And, I mean, the Chargers, they got the stupid coach and an aging roster and guys that are always hurt like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Joey Bosa. And so let's give up on their season. They play in a division with Patrick Mahomes. Give up on the season. What happened to wanting to win? I have never seen such a defeated Titans fan base since the days that they actually sucked. This team doesn't suck. But the old days, the Wisenhunt days, that team sucked. And they were defeated, the fans were. And you should have been defeated. Because I remember the first preseason game in 2015 against the Atlanta Falcons, and the Titans defense just got scorched on, and Mariota looked terrible, and I thought, oh, God, this team's going to be awful this year. And they were. Let's go to AG, who's up next here on a Fireball Hot Take Friday. Thank you for waiting. What's up, AG?
Yeah, Jared, I'm a little down on the Titans right now, man. I mean, we need an offensive line, man. I mean, y'all naming out our people, it's like we need every position on offensive line. And as far as Derrick Henry, I love Derrick Henry, but what's his stats? Mike Vrabel always preached multiplicity and versatile players, and honestly, Derrick Henry, he a one-trick pony. He ain't getting no, passing yards or nothing else outside of that. And without an offensive line, what is Derrick Henry without an offensive line? That's all I got.
Derrick Henry without an offensive line is the second leading rusher in the NFL because that's what he did last year. So you can say, with no line, it doesn't matter if you have Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry with no quarterback, with no offensive line, with a terrible play caller against Jacksonville, a team that everybody seems to just freaking lick their lips when they talk about for this upcoming season. Derrick Henry had over 100 yards, and you had the lead with 2:50 to go. And Derrick Henry came off the field on the 3rd and 6, and Josh Dobbs fumbled the ball, and you lost. So when you ask me, I'm just so down on him, I'm not convinced that the division is out of reach. Somebody texted in and said, I'm not interested in running it back and going 8-9. Who says you're going to go 8-9? Who says you're going to go 8-9? Let's just do it like this. Ian, 4 games against the Colts and the Texans next year, assuming they have rookie quarterbacks. Who do you think's better, the Titans or the Texans?
I mean, just running it back with the Titans roster now, I mean, I'd still probably give the Titans the nod.
Okay, so we've already got 4 wins now. Okay, let's say Jacksonville. Who do you think's better if the Titans run it back with Tannehill and Henry?
I'll give it a split.
Okay, so now you've got 5 wins. Cleveland, who's better right now, Titans or Cleveland?
Toss-up.
Okay, Titans or Saints, who's better?
That's a good question with Carr. Interesting to see. Toss-up.
Titans and Buccaneers.
Titans.
6. Okay. Titans and Falcons.
Titans.
7. Titans and Panthers.
Titans.
8. Titans and Dolphins.
Toss-up.
Titans and Chargers.
Toss-up.
Titans and Seattle at home.
Toss-up.
Titans and Steelers.
Titans.
I mean, what is that now, 7? So 7 and 8.
More 8, something like that.
Yeah, 7 and 9 toss-ups. There's one game I look at on the schedule, and I'm like, good luck, Titans, and that's Cincinnati at home. That's the one game. Do you guys not want to see where this season goes? Like, it's what is today, March 10th?
Yep.
Like, do you guys just want to quit? I mean, good God. And I thought I was negative. But it's like, I don't want to go any 8-9. It's like I was running on the treadmill in Mexico, and I'm listening to Joe Rexroad talk about how they need to trade Tannehill and move off this and do that. And he's talking to Robbie like, unless you think you can compete with Jacksonville for the AFC South, you should. I'm like, wait a minute. I forgot. What the hell were they doing last year? Was that not competing? When you play the last game of the season on the road in their building, and you have the lead until the last 2 minutes of the game. Is that not competing? And everything went wrong last year. And you guys don't even want to play the game this year? I think you all think I'm negative. It's you. It's you guys. You guys are going to drive me crazy today. Why even play? Why should Vandy show up? Vandy's an 8.5-point underdog today against Kentucky. Why should Vandy show up? No need to play today. Oh, man. Ian, I'm sorry. Do I have something I need to tell the people about here? 615-737-1025 is our phone number. What is the matter with you all today on the eve of free agency? Corey Curtis, News 2, will join us next, what he thinks here on the program. Hey, Nashville's best deal this week is from Seafood Sensation, often imitated but never duplicated. It's a Nashville original seafood restaurant. While supplies last, grab half off a $25 gift card to the Seafood Sensation located at 2209 Murfreesboro Pike in Antioch and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more at theGameNashville.com/deals. And this gift card is only good for their Antioch location.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
They can be a fully formed model of what they're going to be offensively moving forward.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
You don't know what's going to happen with the roster or the team.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
This is a good lesson about sports and what we think and what actually happens.
Chad Withrow on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale. Truckloads of new model merchandise from all their factories arriving daily.
Okay.
Spas from Artesia and Catalina and American Select Spas as low as $29.99. All their new patio furniture styles, Hannah Mint, Tropitone, and Woodard are on sale.
That's interesting.
Family Leisure has factory direct pricing on pools. 24-foot pools starting as low as $29.99 installed.
Grills, smokers, and grill islands are on sale too.
That's right. That's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale going on now.
Both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find, luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
Michelle Knesvik here for your SEC Men's Basketball Tournament Courtside Report, brought to you by Superbook Sports. Just over halfway through the first half, Tennessee already has 7 turnovers. Rick Barnes mentioned after the Ole Miss game that was something they couldn't allow to happen moving forward. They needed to take care of the basketball. They allowed 19 points off of turnovers in their first game here at Bridgestone Arena, and he really harped on it moving into this game. Already 7 turnovers halfway through the first half. Josiah Jordan-James and Santiago Vescovi both hit early threes. Santiago Vescovi hit another 3, and those guys are going to need to be explosive for this Tennessee team if they're going to want to get the win over Missouri. This report is powered by Superbook Sports and Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app today and make your March basketball wagers.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game and on Instagram at 1025 The Game Nashville.
Hey!
Oh, yeah, and like us on Facebook, too. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Titans making some moves official. Ben Jones is officially cut by the Tennessee Titans, and they've re-signed Morgan Cox, the long snapper, who did not make my off-season plan. I went with a different long snapper, but I guess they're going to go with Morgan Cox. I can't keep updating it. I did this off-season plan all last night, woke up this morning, Ben Jones cut. So then I had to go back and I had to do the whole thing over again. Now I'm almost bummed out, because I'm always excited for the free agency plan, the day before free agency, where we go over the players. It's the one day a year that we pretend that the salary cap matters. And these Titan fans today are just driving me up a wall. This idea, what's the matter of playing this season? They're going to go 9-8 anyways. Who cares? Time to rebuild. And I'm like, can we not play football this year and see what happens? Can we not see if this Rand Carthon, who we don't really know anything about, can get an offensive line in here? Can we not see if the Titans can draft an impact player with the 11th overall pick? Can we not see all of those things? And apparently the answer is no. Corey Curtis joins us now, News 2 here on the program. Corey, I think people would consider you to be more measured than they would consider me at times, which may be a compliment, but I have had it up to here with this defeated, not excited about free agency attitude that these Titan fans have. It is driving me crazy today. This is not a horrible football team. They have a really good coach. Derrick Henry is not some washed-up bum. It's not like watching, a star player at the end of his run and you're thinking, man, just put him out of his misery. He made the Pro Bowl last year. Tannehill had a good season. They got rid of the offensive coordinator. They're going to have a whole new offensive line. And it's like everybody I've talked to today just says there's no point in playing this year. Your thoughts?
Well, that's ridiculous, because to me it's always about the journey anyway. And, the journey is a long and winding road for virtually, every NFL team, because you have such, whether you believe it or not, you have massive turnover every year. I mean, you have over 20 players change over on the roster
every year, and this year's going to be no different. And there will be guys that show up that, as you like to say, are bums, and then there are guys that are going to show up who are going to be core players to this team for the next 5 to 10 years that get to know, and it's all part of that journey. And, for the notion of they're going to go 9-7 or 9-8 or whatever anyway, and it doesn't matter, that's ridiculous. What was their record the year they went to the AFC Championship game with the Ryan Tannehill quarterback?
9-7.
They were 9-7. All that matters is getting there and having a chance to dance, okay? And so playing your best at the end of the season. So, they will have a new offensive line. And can it come together by the end of the season? Can Ryan Tannehill stay healthy? Can they develop another weapon on the outside? I mean, these are all questions that, if they can answer them positively, sure they can compete. And look, they're not in the toughest division in the world. And we've seen how quickly things can change in the National Football League, so you just never know. So that notion of there's no reason to play is ridiculous.
Okay, so with that being said, Corey, I mean, how excited are you for what this team might do in free agency? I mean, I've been told the Titans are probably not going to make any big splashes, and I'm okay with that because I still think they need to go find good players, and I think good players can be found in free agency without making huge splashes.
Well, yeah, and look, there's not a lot of huge splashes out there when you look at what's out there. Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of dudes where you're like, wow, this guy's available, but there are certainly good players to be had out there. It's a matter of how much, like you're talking about, are you willing to spend on them? How old is too old? How much gas is left? You got a guy like Jason Kelsey from the Philadelphia Eagles who's going to be a free agent. Do the Titans, are they interested? How much would he cost? I don't know. But, you look at a guy who could captain your offensive line, that would be a pretty good one, right there. I look at, a receiver down the line, DJ Chark is available from the Detroit Lions. And I don't think DJ Chark is a star, but I think he can play in the National Football League, and I think he's better than most of what the Titans have. And I think, at a reasonable price, I would be happy to see him as a third Titans receiver.
What did you make of the shopping? Because I guess that came out Monday. So what did you make of the shopping report? The Titans were shopping Derrick Henry, and honestly, I'm kind of disappointed the Titans were doing that. I don't know why. What is your thoughts?
Well, I think that there could be truth to both reports because this is my feeling. I haven't been told anything. You're asking me what happened. Mm-hmm. I think Rand Carthon is learning what his football team is worth, and he's learning what assets he has. And so he's at the combine, and he's finding out what people would be willing to give for Derrick Henry, because Derrick Henry's in the last year of his contract. And, and even if he's not available now, you start the season at 0-4, and you're thinking, okay, we just need to turn the page. And Buffalo, needs a running back, or Miami needs a running back, and now you kind of have a better idea of what he's worth. And so I think there was more fact-finding than necessarily shopping him. But I think I told you last Friday, if you told me you were going to trade Tannehill and trade Henry and get assets and go get a quarterback, I'd be like, all right, go do it. Let's see what happens.
What do you make? Corey Curtis, News 2's our guest here on the program. What do you think are the bigger needs, offense or defense?
I am going to be the same on this. It doesn't matter where the Titans are or what year it is or what era of football it is. If you don't have an offensive line, it's very difficult to win in this league. And to me, it all starts up front. They've got to get that fixed. They've got to get that addressed. Without it, but the offensive line, it has to start there.
Why were the Titans so good last year with such a bad offensive line? And when people talk about Derrick Henry, the one thing that drives me crazy is they act like he wasn't second in the league in rushing with no offensive line in front of him. I actually get excited about the idea of how bad the offensive line was last year because it can't be worse. So if it's better, then shouldn't everybody feel a lot better about the football team? But everything again, our text line, our phones today, it's all been like, oh, who cares about the season? They're going to be 9-8 anyways. What's the point? And I'm like, can we play the games?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that drives me crazy.
Guys, you have to trust your personnel guys to bring in personnel, and you got to trust your coaches to coach them up. okay? And if you believe those guys can do it, you believe you can get a team. Other teams have rebuilt their offensive lines in a year. One of them is hoisting the Lombardi Trophy right now.
Yep.
When they signed Patrick Mahomes, they waived 4 starting offensive linemen to fit him in under the imaginary cap and had to replace all those dudes. They did, and here they are, Super Bowl champions. So you can absolutely do it. As far as offensive linemen go, though, Jared, in the ability to run the ball, most offensive linemen are better going forwards than they are backwards.
Sure.
And so when you have that lack of talent in the offensive line, it tends to show up a lot more in pass protection than it does in the run game.
Fireball Hot Take Friday. What's your hot take this week, Corey?
I think Vanderbilt's in the tournament with a win tonight. That's it.
Do you think Vanderbilt's going to win?
You know what? I wouldn't bet against them because they are confident, and you would have thought the Liam Robbins injury would have been a real kick to the nether regions for them, but
Sure.
they just kept going. And I like hot teams, and they are red hot, and they are believing. And shoot, they won in rough. I mean, they're not going to be afraid of the team they're going to face. So, it's a big one. I mean, it's a tournament game for Jerry Stackhouse, in my opinion. This is the first for them starts tonight.
The one thing I will say to that is everybody's been coming up to me saying, what do you think now about Jerry Stackhouse? I'm like, can we make the NCAA tournament first?
Before.
Right, can we just make the NCAA tournament just once before everybody starts trying to cold take me? Corey Curtis, News 2, as always. Go ahead, Corey.
No, I said you're right. You're right. I mean, they haven't. They still do have 13 losses.
Corey Curtis, as always, on the program. Great stuff, Corey. We'll talk next week.
All right, have a good one, man.
Yep. So the Tennessee-Missouri game just went to the half. Tennessee's up 33-30. Now, I'm a little worried what's going to happen because the SEC doesn't allow alcohol, on the concourse. So they block off Barrel House. And so if you want to drink at the SEC tournament on the lower level, you have to come into Barrel House. So all these Tennessee fans are about to pour in, and Matt Jones is going to join us from Kentucky Sports Radio. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want a chance to win tickets to an upcoming Preds game?
Yes.
Tune in to Robbie and Rexroad every weekday Preds game day at 8:45 for Preds Pick to Click. Guess a goal scorer and win.
I'll take Roman Yossi.
Matt Duchene. Pick to Click is brought to you by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty. Visit tjandersonhomes.com to see why they are referred so often. And by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Download their app today.
Preds Pick to Click.
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Kid Rock. No Snowflake Summer Concert. Saturday, July 1st and Saturday, July 8th at Bridgestone Arena. The American Badass. Kid Rock. With Travis Tritt. On sale now at livenation.com. Kid Rock.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops for the hottest new arrivals from TaylorMade, featuring the Stealth 2 woods and irons. The new Stealth 2 woods combines speed and forgiveness to unlock forgiveness, and the new Stealth HD irons deliver high launch with draw bias to give you the confidence to expect better shots more often. Swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, unmatched expertise, unmatched service.
Do you have a VA loan? In this housing market, homeowners with VA loans have access to a ton of instant cash. Hey, Willie Donick here. Do you need cash to pay off credit cards and other high-interest loans? How does a check for 80 or 90 grand sound right now? Loan Pronto is helping veterans every day get the money they need with a quick and easy zero-cost cash-out refi with zero closing costs. With a VA loan, it's really cool because you can access up to 100% of your home's value. That's 100%. Use that money to pay off credit cards, home equity lines, car loan. Consolidate all your payments into one check per month and close in 2 weeks. Most homeowners who do this end up cutting their overall monthly payments by $800. And Loan Pronto's all-digital process makes it fast and easy. They're doing loans with super low APRs, and they love working with veterans. Call now. See what your options are. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
The Electronic Express tax refund sale is extended. Get up to 50% off doorbusters and 40% off in every department, including 4K TVs, computers, gaming consoles, Bluetooth speakers, smartwatches, and more. Refresh your kitchen with appliances in stock and ready to deliver. And buy now, pay later with up to 3 years free financing. Shop in-store or online at electronicexpress.com and express delivery on most items. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
When you want live and local,
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt head coach Jerry Stackhouse. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Here we go, live from Barrel House at the Bridgestone Arena for the SEC basketball tournament. Matt Jones is here, Kentucky Sports Radio. Every single time you come on this program, our text line, our phones get flooded with, "Don't ever put that guy on again."
That's because they don't understand quality entertainment.
And then I put you back on every time.
That's exactly right. Excited to be here in Nashville in this little hole where they allow people to drink alcohol. It's the degenerate room, and I'm excited to join you. I remember when Jared Stillman was just a lowly intern in Louisville, and now look at you. You have made it big time.
I mean, I was a full-time employee then, but I didn't have health benefits because I was still on my parents' insurance. I was under 26, but close enough. All right, so here's my question for you. Do you guys still hate Cal? Because
I don't hate Cal.
I remember in the middle of this year where I want to say it was a South Carolina or some terrible
lost
team.
South Carolina at home.
And it was like the world was ending with Kentucky basketball, that the marriage was over. Every college basketball writer was saying, it's time, it's over. I had to listen to your show because I wanted to hear what the callers had to say. And then it seemed like Kentucky got good, and all of a sudden they're going to make the tournament.
Here's the thing you have to understand, because I know I'm in Tennessee. In Kentucky, we're not like Tennessee where we've never been to a Final Four. We have high standards. So when you lose to South Carolina at home, that's just a regular year in Knoxville. But in Lexington, that's unacceptable. So it was a very difficult situation for Kentucky fans. They kind of turned it around. I still don't know how good the team is. They'll play great one game. I mean, they lost to Vandy at home, and then they went on the road and beat Arkansas. Play Vandy tonight. I think Kentucky could win this SEC tournament. They could lose tonight to Vanderbilt. I mean, you just don't know. But standards are higher in Lexington, and the rest of the SEC, it's a little different. I understand that, but it's okay.
So here's my theory on Tennessee basketball. And Kentucky's always the program that I use. Calipari's won a national title.
Yeah.
How many SEC titles has he won at UK?
I don't know.
7,
I'm not sure.
8,
We don't
something
count
like
those.
That.
They don't matter.
Right. And even though he hadn't been to the Final Four in forever, I still, they lose to St. Peter's last year, and it's like, fire Cal! Tennessee, every year, Rick Barnes will keep them good enough so that their fans are interested when football season is over until the tournament. They'll lose in the second round. They always wear white jerseys and lose in the tournament, and they will lose in this tournament.
Rick Barnes, Kentucky is like a prime steakhouse, right? You go in and you expect amazing steak. And if on one night it's not great steak, you're disappointed because you're used to great steak. Rick Barnes and Tennessee are like Applebee's. You know what you're getting. You're going to go in, you're going to get some flaming fajitas. They're going to be fine. The bourbon chicken is fine. You're not expecting a great meal. So if you go to the second round or the Sweet 16, it's fine. It's like, hey, I went to Applebee's. I had a nice, margarita, and we all go home. At Kentucky, there's the expectation is such, and it makes it hard. Listen, that's why it's a hard job. The reason Calipari makes $10 million, the reason he's beloved in the state, is because at Kentucky, when you succeed, I say this all the time, when you succeed at Kentucky, there's no better place to be. When you're not winning at Kentucky, there might be no worse place to be. It's just kind of how it is.
Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, is with us. So Josh Heupel this year at Tennessee.
Will you look at this orange? I mean, that is the ugliest color. Like, seriously, I don't understand the color orange. Like, it's like you put the worst palette possible, and you put it out, and that's the color they chose to be
I think you want these people to want to fight you.
They can't even hear me. They're all drunk. I'm just saying that's the worst color orange I've ever seen. Anyway, go ahead.
So this is my theory on – so we got into it during football season, and I said that I think Josh Heupel is like the next Steve Spurrier or like Bobby Petrino when he was good or Chip Kelly at Oregon, and you just ripped my ass over that one. And
how many?
You convinced me I was
Bobby
wrong.
Petrino is a good call because Bobby Petrino is exciting, did well, but never really was elite, and I think that's what Heupel will be. I mean, I think Heupel's a really good coach. Tennessee's lucky to have him because they had 3 or 4 coaches in a row that were bad. But I don't – the idea they won – who was it they beat? Alabama. They beat Alabama.
Yep.
And Tennessee's fans were acting like he was the next Steve Spurrier, and I said win something first. Just win something of importance first, and we'll talk about it. Let me say this. If they end up – and I think what's the kid? Milton? Is he the quarterback?
He'll be the new quarterback.
I think he's going to be good. And if they go 11-1 or 10-2 this year, then I think you got something. But they had – an historically good quarterback for them. The best quarterback since what? T. Martin probably there?
I think he's probably better than T. Martin.
All right, so the best since Peyton Manning. And they had also, I think, a first-round NFL talent in Hyatt. I don't know where he's projected to go, but he was a great receiver. Let's see if they have that. When they don't have that, what do they do? And then we'll see what happens. And let's see what happens when the schedule changes in 2 years and they're not playing against the East six games every year. I think it's going to be harder.
Okay, so now what about Will Levis? Because everybody is telling me, I was at the Super Bowl. I talked to a former general manager, and he looked at me and was like, I think he'll go number 1. And
yeah,
I'm like,
I thought he was going to go number 1, but I guess that's kind of changed. I had thought –
Anthony Richardson jumps high.
I don't understand the Anthony Richardson thing. I think there's definitely – I can see the case for Bryce Young. Like, I can see I can even see the case for C.J. Stroud. I can't see the case for Anthony Richardson. If you take Anthony Richardson, to me – Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, and Will Levis, depending on what you value, you might pick number 1.
Why would Levis be in that category?
Because I think he is a physical specimen and he's really good. And if you put this is what I always say to people. Give Will Levis Alabama's talent. Don't you think he'd have been as good as Bryce Young? He's at Kentucky. I mean, Bryce Young is surrounded by the best players in the country. Will Levis this year, not one guy he played with is going to play in the NFL unless they were a true freshman. Not one guy. So give him a break. I mean, he's not playing with the same kind of talent. You don't think if he had C.J. Stroud's receivers, he'd be as good as C.J. Stroud was?
C.J. Stroud had everything on his.
So that's what I'm saying. I just think a 6'4" dude with an arm like that, he has a chance to be great. Now, it doesn't mean he will be great, but he has a chance to be great.
Do you think if an NFL scout came to you, how well do you know Levis? Do you know him at all?
I know him really well, yeah.
Okay, so if an NFL scout came to you and said, hey, what kind of kid is Will Levis?
He's a great kid.
That would be able to lead a team in the NFL?
He's cocky,
would be able
very cocky. You got to be okay with him being cocky. He's going to walk in and believe that he's the best player in the organization. And you know how that goes. That works when you back it up. And when you don't back it up, you're Baker Mayfield, right? So I think he's going to be one of these people that it's got to be the right situation. Like I look at those teams they're looking at. I don't want him to go to the Texans. I hope he doesn't, even though that would probably get him picked first. I like the idea of him on the Colts maybe. I actually think the Panthers have a lot of pieces there and in a weak division. So I think they have a chance to be good. So I'd like to see him go one of those or the Seahawks with Pete Carroll. But I think Will Levis is going to be really good. But the thing is, all these quarterbacks, it's a 50% hit rate.
Oh, it's not even 50%. I mean,
you're guessing.
This is what I always tell people because everyone's like, well, get a bunch of capital and then – if the guy is really good, trade up to number 1. And I'm like, people do not trade the Peyton Manning pick. They don't trade the Joe Burrow pick. They don't trade the one where and
there's nobody like that.
No.
This is Josh. I mean, basically, Will Levis is Josh Allen. Okay,
that's a hot take.
No, he is Josh Allen because I remember everyone listening right now is about Will Levis the way I was Josh Allen. So I would hear people during that year tell me, you know who's great? Josh Allen. So I would stay up on CBS Sports Network at 10:30 at night and watch Wyoming play whoever they were playing. And I'd watch him and I'd go, why does everybody think this guy's good? Like he's inaccurate, etc. And he went into that draft and I was like, man, you want to pick Josh Allen? Go for it. But what we saw was he was playing with Wyoming players, right? He's playing with Wyoming players. Now give him NFL talent. I think Will Levis will be a lot like that. When he had NFL talent his junior year, he had 3 offensive linemen playing in the league, Wan'Dale Robinson and Chris Rodriguez, both guys that will play in the league. When he had NFL talent, he was great. Last year he didn't have it.
Matt Jones with us, Kentucky Sports Radio. Back to the tournament. Calipari.
Yes.
How long is this going to last?
Well, I mean, he's going to be back next year regardless. They got the number 1 recruiting class coming in, and it's a really good one. I think some of these dudes on this team will return. I think they're going to, they'll be preseason number 1, 2, or 3 next year. But I will say, if the tournament doesn't go well for him this year, the pressure next year will be unbelievable.
Can they fire him? Because all I hear is that he's got a lifetime contract.
They owe him too much money. I mean,
they can't ever fire him.
If they fired him this year, they'd owe him $50 million. They're not going to do that.
What about next year? Could they fire him next year?
It'd be like $40 million. So I don't.
There's no way to fire Calipari.
And I don't think they want to. I don't think Kentucky fans want to fire Calipari. They want the Calipari, and you remember this. You were in Louisville. They want the Calipari who was the swashbuckling Cal, who looked and said, "I'm gonna beat your dudes, and I'm gonna crush them, and we're the best." And now he's older Cal. Yeah. He looks like he's kind of. We need the old Cal back. The guy who cared, the guy who would go anywhere, say anything. That guy hasn't been around in a few years, and I think fans just want that dude back.
So I don't know if I've ever told you the story, but years ago when I was on Drew's show in Louisville, and Louisville had some random player by the name of Okoye Gal transfer. Mm-hmm. And we were doing the show that morning, and I had been listening a lot to like Boston radio, and I was like so
Felger
amazed.
And Maz.
Yes. And I was so amazed at how any story that they could turn into like it's about Brady or Belichick or whatever. So this Okoye Gal transfers. Drew and I are doing the show. And Drew's like, Okoye Gal transferred. I don't even know if that's a big deal. And I was like, no, I think it's a big deal. I think that it shows that Rick Pitino, he keeps recruiting all these guys and none of them are any good. And I mean, I look at Cal and he's out there getting Trey Lyles and Anthony Davis and Carl Anthony Towns and all that. And where are these guys? Not literally an hour after I was done with that show, I had somebody who was at ESPN who was listening text me, was like, that was a great show. And then I had Louisville call me. And they were like, hey, why'd you have to be so tough on Pitino? And I'm like, well, you can't sit there and compare yourself to Kentucky all the time if you can't recruit like Cal. I feel like Calipari does all the recruiting, but where's the winning now? They used to win with these players.
Yeah, well, the last few years the recruiting hadn't been as great. I mean, what happened, and it's a long story that most people don't want to hear.
They allow you to pay the players now, so Cal lost his advantage?
No. What happened is Mike Krzyzewski started going after one-and-dones. So all those dudes that were Duke the last few years,
sure,
they would have been at Kentucky because Krzyzewski didn't used to recruit them. So think about all those guys they've had. Tatum, Zion, Barrett, all those guys, they would have all been at Kentucky. And if Cal had those guys, I've always said, those are the dudes. When Cal has those guys, there's not a better coach in the country. Krzyzewski didn't win with those guys. I think Cal would have won with those guys, but he wasn't getting them, and so the team just wasn't as good.
What about Vandy tonight? Is there like any fear that Vanderbilt's
going to win? They could lose, but I think Kentucky's going to win by double digits. I mean, Vandy got a great win against them in Lexington. What's Ponytail's name?
Melora Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about Ponytail, and Kentucky's going to win. I'm interested to see what happens in this game. As much as I hate Tennessee, I picked Tennessee to win the SEC tournament.
So did I.
I think that the way they finished the year was disappointing. They want the bracket. I think they're the one team that can beat Alabama. I don't think Kentucky can beat Alabama. And I think we're going to see Kentucky and Tennessee in the final again Sunday. I just think it's hard to beat a team 3 times, so that's why I pick Tennessee.
So can I tell you the one problem I have with this tournament right now?
What's the problem?
Like last night.
It's been a good tournament.
No, tournament's fine. It's last night I read that story on ESPN.com, like the kind of the inside story of the Alabama basketball players and the woman that died and all of that.
Terrible story.
And it's like you come here and they're parading the kid out that brought the gun. Now, you're a lawyer, so, or you went to law school or whatever it is. I don't know exactly how deep you are in this. What's your take on that in the SEC and Alabama and all this? Because this story is freaking
way
ridiculous.
To bring the mood down, but I
knew I was doing that too.
I would say, from a legal perspective, he probably should not have been charged. So I think the decision not to charge him was correct. I think where Alabama screwed up is they probably should have suspended him a few games earlier in the year, because what ended up happening is they didn't suspend him when they should have, which was when they needed to investigate and figure out what was going on. If they had suspended him then they could have come back and said, we investigated, we're going to clear him, and he's going to play. By not suspending him at all, then when it goes public, people are like, you never suspended this guy. And then it's weird to suspend him now because, A, the tournament, and B, because they're like, well, why are you doing it now if you knew back then? There just isn't a scenario where it would have made sense. I think they screwed it up back in January. Nate Oates is too arrogant. I think he's a great coach, but he's too arrogant. And I think I hope this will humble Nate Oates. They handled this so terribly. And it's only going to get worse for him, Jared. Like when they get to I don't know if you saw it, Pat Forty grilled him here about 30 minutes ago. It's going to be even worse when they get to the NCAA tournament. New York Times, there's all these outlets that don't care about college basketball until the tournament. When they get to and get a chance to go after Brandon Miller and Nate Oates, it's not going to be pretty. So I really think this story is actually just beginning once the NCAA tournament starts.
Do you think that, what should Alabama have done?
They should have
if
suspended
this was
him
a
back
Kentucky
then.
player, if this was a Kentucky player, how would you have reacted to that?
If it was a Kentucky player, when the incident happened and you knew Brandon Miller was involved in some way, you should have suspended him then until the investigation was over. Then, when it's over, you can go, we looked into it, he's not going to be legally charged, so now we're going to let him play. But at least he had a period of time where he set out, if for nothing else, for bad judgment. They didn't do that, and so because of that, I think they screwed up. I do. But at this point, they're not going to suspend him right now.
No.
But I also want to say, I'm not taking up for the kid because he made poor judgment. He probably shouldn't have been charged under Alabama law. So I actually think the decision not to charge him was probably correct. And there comes a point that, at some point you have to let people move on with their lives. But had they suspended him back when they were investigating it, it would have felt like he had some comeuppance. Right now, for a lot of people, it doesn't feel like he had any,
Last one for you, Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, with us at the tournament. What would hurt you more?
Yes.
Tennessee, and what do you think is more likely? Tennessee in a Final Four in basketball, or Tennessee wins the national championship in football?
Tennessee winning the national championship, just because I've been on record saying they'll never win the national championship again in football. So if they do, that would hurt. I like being able to say to Tennessee fans that they've never been to a Final Four. That's fun, but I actually want SEC teams to do well in the tournament because I think I want this league to be good at basketball. I'm one of the few people that likes basketball more than football, right? So when SEC teams do well in basketball, like Alabama, I want them to make a Final Four this year. I want SEC teams.
I don't. The Brandon Miller stuff's too much for me.
I understand, but I
want them to lose.
I like SEC teams succeeding in basketball. In football, yeah, Vandy's not good enough. But I mean, look.
Hey, my dad promised me when I was a kid, if Vandy ever made it to the Final Four or to a BCS game, he'd take me. And he said it was the easiest promise he ever had to make.
Look, Vandy, you all have the best dressed coach. You have I hate that Liam Robbins got hurt. That sucks. But you have the worst ponytail in the league, so you should take solace in that. But otherwise, I thought Jerry Stackhouse was gone.
Vandy is good.
They are good.
It's a good team this year.
And if Kentucky had not lost to them last week, I would pick Vandy tonight. But I think because Kentucky lost last week, they show up tonight and win.
So you would say that it would be tougher for you, even though you like basketball more, it would be tougher for you if Tennessee won a football.
I don't want to see Tennessee win a national championship football. Tennessee fans are the most arrogant, gooberish people in general. And so if they won a national championship, they'd all just go, what about them balls? Orange, orange. And I just can't listen to it. You guys are nice. I like, I grew up on the border. I had Knoxville TV stations. I'm glad they're happy, but I don't want them to be much more happy. They're the fine amount of happy right now.
Matt, thanks for stopping by. Good to see you.
Jared, congrats on all your success here. Seriously, I'm proud of you. Starting at the bottom, and now you're here. I'm proud of you.
And by the way, just throw us out, you can hear Matt Jones. He's always on this station all the time doing ESPN radio stuff, which I'll get in my car and I'll hear Matt.
Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., Matt and Myron.
Matt talking NFL.
I'm doing Sunday night, I'm doing the selection show on there.
So there you go. Matt, all I do, I'll get in the car on a Sunday morning and I'll just hear things like, here's my take on the Carolina Panthers, okay?
Oh, I don't. Let me tell folks listening who don't know much about me, I'm proof anyone can be on the ESPN radio. I don't know anything about the things I'm talking about. Nothing. They're like, hey, Matt, give an opinion on the New Orleans Saints. And I don't know. I literally am like, Drew Brees, man, since he retired, things are bad, and then just pass it on because I'm not. You don't have to know much to do this.
There you go, Matt Jones, as always. Stillman and Company. We'll roll along 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willie, and D-Mace to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This week in Vanderbilt history, March 11th, 2012. The win was big, but certainly wasn't easy in New Orleans as the Commodores recorded one of the most important victories in the history of the men's basketball program. They defeated top-ranked Kentucky 71-64 for the first SEC tournament championship in more than 60 years. Vandy finished the game on a 16-2 run, holding the Wildcats without a field goal over the final 8 minutes, and to 35% from the field for the game. Jeffrey Taylor scored 18 points. John Jenkins and Festus Ezeli each had 17. As Kevin Stallings' team fought back from 7 down to tie and take the lead with less than 2 minutes to play. The emotion poured out as the final horn sounded and the confetti flew, and the Commodores claimed their first SEC tourney title since 1951. Vanderbilt got the automatic bid for the NCAA tournament and played in the big dance the following week in Albuquerque. It was quite a party on a Sunday in New Orleans. Commodores 71, Kentucky 64 in March of 2012. This week in Vanderbilt history, I'm Kevin Ingram.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and in the past, hair loss was inevitable, but now you have a choice for thicker, fuller hair. Trust the experts with 45 years of experience at Hair Club. They've helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair again. No matter your age, stage of hair loss, or budget, Hair Club can customize a solution for you. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Springs. While supplies last, see store for details.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
As long as he wants to coach there, he will be able to coach there.
I think that really did save the hope of this team.
Michelle and Junie, presented by Superbook Sports, every Saturday morning at 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company live at the SEC tournament. We have gotten in the usual text messages that come in here when Matt Jones comes on the program.
Oh boy.
The once a season, usually before Tennessee plays Kentucky in football, we bring Matt Jones on. He's here at the SEC basketball tournament. We brought him on, and it's I'm going to put the word screw in there, but it's not screw. Screw Matt Jones, screw Kentucky, screw the color blue. That's the best one, I think, of the group. And, I share a lot of the same sentiments that he has. What do you think about the comparison he made? Says Kentucky's a prime steakhouse in basketball, and Tennessee is like going to Applebee's. I'm going to tell you, I think it's a little off. But Tennessee's trailing right now, Missouri 42-41. Okay, so coming up at the top of the hour, I've been telling you all about this all day. This is one of my favorite days of the year because it is essentially the free agency eve show. It is the pre-free agency show. Monday is when the legal tampering period begins, and it's crazy. The legal tampering period will begin at like 12:01 or whatever time it is, 2:01 or whatever time it starts. And as soon as it happens, it's like, bang, the Carolina Panthers and Orlando Brown Jr. have agreed to a 5-year, $118 million contract with $73 million guaranteed. And it's like, man, how did they negotiate that in 1 minute? And you obviously know the answer. The answer is they didn't. They did it during the illegal tampering period. But let me say this about this year's Titans team. They have so many needs, according to my count. Left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, maybe right tackle, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 2, quarterback 2, defensive tackle, defensive end, outside linebacker, or another defensive tackle, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, and kicker. And the reason that I say this, the reason that I bring up all these needs was because this exercise, which is usually a very fun exercise for me, something that I usually enjoy doing. Like, I enjoy every year getting to do this. Last night, I sat down, and this is the one day a year that we pretend that the salary cap matters, and we take you through the cap, and I have to work the contracts, like, okay, let's get this guy done with a 4-year deal with a $18 million signing bonus, and then I have to do the math on these contracts and add it all out and everything else, almost like playing make-believe, like I'm 6 years old again, but I do this, and I get so excited to go through the list of, I want this guy, or I want that guy. Man, I was looking for some of these free agents, and I was like, oof. And then I was looking at some of my own guys, and I'm like, do I really want to give that much money to Nick Westbrook-Akina in order to keep him? Like, what do I want? And it's a long-winded way of me saying, this is going to be a really, really, really hard offseason for the Titans. Like, they better hit it out of the park when it comes to the draft this year. Because that's where they're going to get the impact players from. Now, maybe there are some of these guys, people didn't think Hassan Reddick was one of the big names out there as far as free agency was concerned last year, and we saw what he's done with Philadelphia and how big of an impact he's had. So maybe. But again, going through the list of free agents that were out there and going through what I feel like the Titans are going to commit to, it's more about quantity and not being injured than it is going and looking for Pro Bowl caliber players. So with that said, we will get to our official free agency plan for the Titans. We start with $27.284 million in cap space, $132 million in cash. How do we get to the final result? How do we go through free agency? Who are the big deals they sign? Who are the little deals they sign? All of that is next, as we always do here on Stillman and Company. Fireball, Cinema Whiskey. Boy, I tell you, it's tournament time. We got a bunch of people in town. You see it's hopping in here inside a barrel house. Let me tell you about Fireball Whiskey. It goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. There is no better way to ignite the night and to celebrate your tournament weekend than to do it with ice-cold Fireball Cinema Whiskey. That's right. I love Fireball Cinema Whiskey, and I always think it's the best thing to celebrate something as exciting as the tournament or the big tournament starting or everything else. That's Fireball Whiskey. Goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Please be 21 years or older to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
Every day we are live and local.
Blown out in one game against a team that's just flat out better than you.
And your source for Nashville sports.
How many needs are you going to create for yourself this offseason?
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you missed the latest from Robbie and Rex Road.
So now that the dust is settled, Joe, I think the Predators in the span of a week have almost totally changed the trajectory of their franchise in terms of how the fan base feels about the hope moving forward, the assets that they've accumulated with the draft picks that they've acquired, and the flexibility that they've created with their cap as well. There's a lot that's changed in the course of a week that I think you've got options now with if you're the Predators. Now, it's great to have options. You have to make the right selections with your draft picks. If you do choose to use some of those assets to make trades, You got to make the right trades. Like the work's not done just because you've cleared up all this room. I mean, we've seen people clear up a room all the time and then just refill the room with stupid contracts, and then they're right back in the same situation. So there's still work left to be done. But I will say the trajectory of where they're going feels way different, and I think for most Predators fans, feels way more positive than it did this time a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
No question. The fan base has done a 180. But now it's the next question for the fan base. Okay, so would you rather this be a little bit of a longer process, young players, taking your time, trying to, build up to something, or would you rather Barry Trotz go right out and bundle a bunch of those picks and then go try to whatever it is? You can try the RFA route or just, try to make a trade. The free agent market doesn't look very good this summer. But whatever it is, do you want them to immediately try to kind of reset with a bigger deal or two and be competitive right away next year? Could they be good enough in that approach?
Robbie and Rex Road, weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Now, your Game Center update.
Another fun day at Bridgestone Arena as the SEC basketball tournament is in full force. In the first game, number 1 seed Alabama cruised by Mississippi State 72-49. Tennessee and Missouri are currently underway as the winner will take on Bama tomorrow. Vanderbilt is looking to make another case for their tourney chances tonight when they take on Kentucky. Coverage on the Vanderbilt Sports Network begins at 8 on 93.3 Classic Hits. The moves in the NFL offseason continue. The Tennessee Titans officially have released center Ben Jones, and they announced a new one-year contract for long snapper Morgan Cox. And the Nashville Predators' playoff chances took a hit last night with a 4-1 loss to the lowly Arizona Coyotes. The Preds are still 6 points behind Winnipeg for the final wildcard spot. The team announced that they have reassigned forward John Leonard to AHL Milwaukee. Nashville will look to rebound in LA on Saturday night against the Kings. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit theGameNashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. Had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff.
You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. The SEC Men's Basketball Tournament at Bridgestone Arena. All of our coverage here at the SEC Basketball Tournament is presented by Toyota. Be sure to check out our updates. Buyattoyota.com. Ready, set, go. Get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. Fireball Hot Take Friday. Ian, it is one of my favorite activities of the year.
Yep.
The official free agency plan. This is the third year that we've done this. We're on the eve of free agency. We lay out to you how the Titans should spend their money, how they should fill their holes, and it's nerdy, and I love it, and we'll get right to it. Let's just go right in. So we're going to start with what the Titans have right now. And let me just say this. I did this last night at like 11 o'clock at night. So I think I went to bed around 1 a.m. doing, going through contracts and signing bonus and everything else. And then I woke up this morning and the Titans cut Ben Jones. So I didn't know what Ben Jones' health was. I was going to assume that Ben Jones was going to be healthy. So then I had to go redo the whole thing. So here you go. The Titans start off with $27.28 million in cap space. And this is the one day a year we pretend the cap matters. The Titans have also got committed $132 million in cash. Now, they had $217 million to start the season last year. So if we think about it, I don't know what their budget is, but they spent $230, I believe, last year overall, but $217 to start the season. So they're at $132 right now. So you're looking at about $80 million in cap space, or in money space, and $27.284 in cap space. Needs: left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, maybe an upgrade at right tackle from Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 2, quarterback 2, defensive tackle, defensive end, outside linebacker, defensive tackle, depth player, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, and kicker. The number one thing I would do if I were the Titans is I would tender defensive tackle Tier Tart to a right of first refusal $2.6 million tender. So the way this works with restricted free agents is that you've got 3 levels. There's right of first refusal, there's second round pick, which I believe is $4.6 million, and there's first round pick money, which is $6 million. I thought about using the second round tender on Tart, because I think Tart's probably an $8-9 million player, and maybe a team will still sign him anyways. The Titans will have a right to match it. So I'm going to go with the $2.6 million right of first refusal, and I will make somebody give an offer to Tier Tart, and then I'll evaluate it from there. But that would allow me for at least $2.6 million to keep Tier Tart for next year. Number 2, and this is because they released Ben Jones today, and I just honestly need the numbers. With all of the holes on the offensive line, I would tender Aaron Brewer to a right of first refusal RFA tender, again, $2.6 million. Nobody is going to offer Aaron Brewer more of a contract than $2.6 million. But again, I've got holes at every position on the line. I'm not a huge fan of Aaron Brewer starting on the offensive line for the Titans, and I know neither are you. And at 270, 280 pounds, he's too small. But again, you only got 6 draft picks. There's only so many guys out there on the offensive line. I got to have bodies. 2.6 isn't breaking the bank. Without Ben Jones, at least I know I have somebody that can play center. So he gets that $2.6 million RFA tender. Nick Westbrook-Akine is a restricted free agent. I could do the same thing with him and offer him $2.6 million, but I can't do it. He's just not good enough. I had offered Nick Westbrook-Akine to return at 1 year, $1.2 million, and I think he'd take that. Because I'm not sure there's a guarantee of $1 million out there for Nick Westbrook-Akine. 1.2 for Nick Westbrook-Akine. He returns as a receiver and a special teams player. And honestly, I need to be able to draft so that I'm not relying on Nick Westbrook-Akine anymore. Here's the first kind of free agent signing that I would have. And I am going to do this. I don't think the Titans are going to do this, but I would do this. I would make the offer to Austin Hooper to return for 1 year and $7 million. Now, last year they had him for $6 million. I thought Hooper has a role on this team. I thought he really defined one at the end of last year. Chigakonkwo is going to need to play more, sure. But I kind of want continuity back. I don't think anybody's going to offer Hooper more than $7 million a season. Again, I'm year to year here with him, $7 million. But now I really feel like I've got Burks, I've got Okonkwo, I've got Westbrook-Akine back. And the wide receiver market is so sad that paying Hooper $7 million is probably a lot better than having to give Allen Lazard or Jacoby Myers 4 years in order to be a pass-catching option. I like the relationship between Tannehill and Hooper. Again, Tannehill's only signed for 1 year. 1 year, $7 million for Austin Hooper. Now I have $13.8 million in cap space. This is my first outside of the organization free agent. I make an offer to an outside linebacker, defensive end by the name of Samson Ebukam of the San Francisco 49ers. 3 years, $24 million. That would be a $4.16 million cap hit next season. And I really like Ebukam. He is always around the football. I noticed him in LA when he was on the Rams, and I've noticed him the last couple of years with the 49ers. He's healthy. He plays a lot. Rand Carthon knows him, and he's not going to break the bank. Again, Samson Ebukam, I think he's the kind of player, the kind of productive player that could come in here and be like a Danico Autry. He's not going to lead the league in sacks. But if you can get an Ebukam, Autry, Simmons, Landry, I think he is a very, very quality player. San Francisco, I don't think is going to pay him. 3 years, $24 million. Again, $4.16 million cap hit. Now we address the offensive line. Right guard Gabe Jackson out of Seattle. Now he's old. I believe he's 33 years old. So he is old. But he has experience. He has played and started and been healthy for a long time. Gabe Jackson, 2 years, $8 million. And I'm not going to fully guarantee the deal, but I'm pretty much going to fully guarantee that deal. in order to get Gabe Jackson here. $8 million over 2 years. It's not breaking the bank. He's not an elite guard. He's not, but again, he's a starting caliber guard. He's an older guy, but at least he's a starter. It's not like last year trying to run Aaron Brewer out there. Like, is he a starter? He doesn't weigh enough. He's not big enough. Gabe Jackson, 2 years, $8 million. That's a $3 million cap hit. So now I've got $6.724 million. Now we address tackle. I know a lot of you are thinking about Jawan Taylor of Jacksonville or Mike McGlinchey of San Francisco or Orlando Brown of Kansas City. But I think all of those guys are probably going to get offered way too much money, and probably way too much money than their quality of play is. I am going to go with Kelvin Beachum, who was the left tackle last year for the Arizona Cardinals. Kelvin Beachum moves all around the offensive line as far as right tackle, left tackle. He's an older guy. He's in his 30s. But the one thing that he has been is he has consistently played. And again, that's what I'm really going for here. I am really trying to get guys on my team that I can count on that will be in the lineup. So I give Kelvin Beachum a one-year deal at $4 million. You might give him a 2-year deal or do some of that, void year kind of stuff to spread around the cap hit or everything else. But I'm just going to say 1 year, $4 million straight up. And the reason that I feel good about this deal is I'm not convinced Nicholas Petit-Ferrer is the answer at right tackle. But it wouldn't surprise me if the Titans think they can develop him a little bit more. I'm not saying Kelvin Beachum is the answer at left tackle, but I know he can play it. I'm going to need a swing tackle. Dylan Radins is hurt, and he's not even that good anyways, and I don't want Dennis Daly back. So I can still go into the draft with Kelvin Beachum as my left tackle, and I don't have to pick a left tackle at 11, but I could pick a left tackle at 11, and Beachum can be my swing guy for $4 million, or Beachum can be my right tackle for $4 million, and Nicholas Petit-Ferrer can kick in at guard. And then I've, again, filled holes. So I think it's a very safe deal, but I think it's a veteran player that has starting experience. And again, with Gabe Jackson and Kelvin Beachum, I'm bringing in older guys on the offensive line, which is important because I just lost Ben Jones. So now I've got older veteran guys that stay healthy, that can play tackle and can play guard and know what they're doing and have played in similar systems. Arizona runs a similar system to the Titans. Seattle has run a similar system to the Titans. Now, again, we're down to $2.724 million. This is where we screw with the cap. Full restructure to outside linebacker Harold Landry. So his $15 million salary converted to a signing bonus, which will open up, it'll clear $10.25 million in cap space for this year. It will leave more dead cap. Not that I care about this, but it'll leave more dead cap in case you want to cut Landry down the road. It'll make it harder to do so. Coming off of the ACL, that could be tricky, but there's just not a lot of contracts on the Titans to where you can just easily pop the restructure and get $10 million. So I have done that with Landry, which now leaves us with $12.974 million in cap space. Now, we filled our tackle need. We filled a guard at right guard. I can say we filled the center because we've tendered Aaron Brewer. Petit-Ferrer's at right tackle. We've brought back Westbrook-Akina, that's wide receiver 3. We brought back Austin Hooper, that's tight end 2. And we brought in that defensive end outside linebacker and Samson Ebukam. We brought back Tier Tart, that defensive tackle. So we still have inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, kicker, wide receiver 2, and left guard to go. We'll do that on the other side. We will continue, again, with our free agency plan. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Now's the time to get a great deal on select Kubota compact tractors, rated #1 in durability and owner experience. They're designed for easy operation and feature performance-matched attachments. Right now, put 0 down and get 0% APR for up to 72 months, plus save up to $800 on select equipment. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coleman Tractor Company, your local Kubota dealer in Clarksville, Nashville, Paris, and White House today.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota, like the best-selling Toyota Tacoma, with powerful off-road capabilities and the best resale value in its class. Now through April 4th, you can get low 3.99 APR financing on a new 2023 Tacoma, with approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD Pro. And every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance included. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
When you hear it, you know the Steve Miller Band.
I'm a smoker.
April 30th, First Bank Amphitheater, Franklin, Tennessee. With special guest, Mavis Staples. On sale now at livenation.com. For more info and tour dates, visit stevemillerband.com, part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale.
Which factory? From where?
Family Leisure has truckloads of new model merchandise from all their factories arriving daily.
Really? Like what?
Well, spas for one. All the new model spas are here and on sale from Artesian, Catalina, and American Select Spas, as low as $29.99.
Okay.
Family Leisure is getting all their new patio furniture styles. Hanneman, Tropitone, and Woodard are on sale. And there are still a lot of floor models left to sell at ridiculous prices. The guaranteed largest selection and lowest prices in the Mid-South.
Now, that's interesting.
Family Leisure has factory direct pricing on pools. 24-foot pools starting as low as $29.99 installed. And solid wood slate pool tables are only $19.99 as well.
That means the grills, smokers, and grill islands are on sale too.
Of course. Family Leisure even has the huge Diamond Point Play system for only $24.99 installed.
Even the massage chairs, theater seating are on sale.
That's right. That's Family Leisure's factory direct sale going on now.
Both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Want to weigh in on the conversation?
It's a brain booster.
Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We continue along with our official 2023 Titans free agency plan. We started off with $27.284 million in cap space. We had needs at left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, maybe right tackle, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, tight end 2, quarterback 2, defensive tackle, outside linebacker, defensive end, inside linebacker, corner, punt returner, and kicker. We tendered T.R. Tart and Aaron Brewer to contracts. We signed Nick Westbrook-Akine for 1 year, $1.2 million. We brought Austin Hooper back for $7 million. We signed Samson Ebukam, an outside linebacker from San Francisco, for 3 years and $24 million. Gabe Jackson, the right tackle, a little bit older, from Seattle, 2 years, $8 million. Kelvin Beachum, the left tackle from Arizona, 1 year, $4 million. And we restructured Harold Landry's contract to give us an extra $10.25 million in cap space, which leaves us with $12.974 million in cap space, and we still have needs. Now, this was a tough decision that I made. But I decided to make the offer to corner Cameron Sutton of Pittsburgh for 3 years and $21.75 million. That would be a $5 million cap hit here. He's 5'11". He's dependable. He plays on the field. And he does have some ball stats, interceptions, pass defenses, etc. But right now, I just need a corner who's bigger than what they have out there. 5'11's not huge, but I do kind of feel like 5'11 is big enough. You know, it's still going to be tough going up against the 6'4" T. Higgins, but he's a consistent player. It's not going to break the bank. The reason why it was hard, and I chose Cameron Sutton, was because it was between him or David Long Jr. And I felt like if I was going to give David Long a contract, it'd be 3 years and $21 million. I just can't do it. Given his size and injury history, I just can't do it for David Long. And I don't know if David Long has a market out there that's going to pay him $21 million. There might be. I don't know. But ultimately, I decided that inside linebacker and the Vrabel defense is kind of a plug-and-play position. Corner, they need depth, they need size, they need experience to go with Fulton and McCreary, and I can't trust Molden to stay healthy, so I go with Cameron Sutton from Pittsburgh. 3 years, $21.75 million, $5 million cap hit. Wide receiver 2. Make the offer to Mac Hollins of the Raiders. 2 years, $5 million. It would be a $1.75 million cap hit this season. He would be wide receiver 2. And before you go, Mac Hollins, just know the reason why I picked Mac Hollins. I mean, I'm still going to have to, I talked about this with Beecham at left tackle. I'm still going to have to draft a receiver. I mean, you still need a younger receiver. You need a guy that can be your number 2. But Mac Hollins can run. He's a deep ball guy. That's why I picked him. You know, I can throw underneath the Burks and I can throw underneath the Westbrook-Akina, but I need a guy who can take the top off the defense. I need a guy who can go down the field, and the guy to do that is Mac Hollins. And boy, did he tear up the Titans in the one game that they played against the Raiders this year when he was matched up against Terrence Mitchell. So with Derrick Henry in the backfield and with Traylon Burks and Chigga with some big play guys, I need a deep ball guy who can stay on the field. For me, it's Mac Hollins. Then I decided, I was thinking about this, you know, do I bring it back? Do I draft it? Do I see if I can get it from somebody already on my roster? And then I just said, you know what, why mess with a good thing? I make an offer and I bring back running back Dontrell Hilliard for 1 year, $1 million. And again, I think Hilliard is a good third down back. I think he's a good receiver out of the backfield. And I think that he's got Tannehill's trust. I think he's got Vrabel's trust. I think he's got Henry's trust. And so, again, 1 year, $1 million. I'm not breaking the bank for Dontrell Hilliard. He returns as my primary third down back, he along with Hassan Haskins. Now, because I'm passing on giving the contract to David Long, I still have a hole at inside linebacker, where I am going to sign Kyle Van Noy, longtime Patriot, spent some time in Detroit, spent some time in Miami, last year with the Chargers. He's a journeyman, but he is a consistent player. And I signed Kyle Van Noy for the same contract he had last year, 1 year at $2.25 million. And that probably means goodbye to David Long. Now, at this point, I've got $2.974 million in cap space. I've got my wide receiver 2. I've got my corner. I've got my inside linebacker. I've got my left tackle. I've got my center. I've got my right guard. I've got my tight end. I've got a lot of what are on my needs list, which now I'm starting to plug guys into the lineup. Monty Rice is going to start next year inside linebacker. I'm not a huge Monty Rice fan, but I've got $2.9 million in cap space. I'm about to create a little bit more, but I'm going to need some guys already on the roster to be able to step in and play. So Monty Rice is in the lineup. He'll replace David Long. Kyle Van Noy replaces Zach Cunningham. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, even though he drives me crazy at right tackle, or did last year, he's going to stay at right tackle for now. If I draft the tackle in the first round, if I go with Paris Johnson, or I go with Broderick Jones, or I trade down and I take a Darnell Wright who's a right tackle, I can put him at right tackle and I can move Petit-Ferrer in. Or I can draft a left tackle, move Kelvin Beachum to right tackle, and move Petit-Ferrer in. Or Petit-Ferrer can be my swing guy. But for right now, I have a right tackle. Aaron Brewer goes to center, replacing Ben Jones. And again, just like Petit-Ferrer, for right now. If I can draft the better center like the Kansas City Chiefs did, taking Creed Humphrey a couple years ago, I'm going to do that. But for right now, Aaron Brewer at 270 pounds is my center. Now, I have $2.974 million in cap space. I'm going to need some more. And again, like I said, the Titans do not have a lot of contracts on their books that are really easy to restructure, or guys that I'm not going to think in a couple years or really think after this year, gosh, I got to get rid of this guy. So Amani Hooker fits the bill. And I take $5.185 million of his salary and convert it to a signing bonus. That clears me $5.718 million in cap space for 2023, which leaves me now with $8.692 million, which is not a lot of money considering that I'm probably going to have to sign my draft class and everything else. I make an offer to quarterback Josh Dobbs. 1 year, $1.165 million. That is the veteran minimum for somebody who has played in the league as long as Josh Dobbs has. I thought Josh Dobbs did a tremendous job last year, backing up Ryan Tannehill in that last game. I thought he did a good job against the Cowboys. You know, he turns the ball over too much. 4 turnovers in 2 games. That's unacceptable. But it's a lot better than putting Malik Willis back out there. And I'd say this, and again, that $1.165 million for Dobbs does not guarantee until the end of the preseason. You know, once we start a regular season game, then Dobbs' contract guarantees. If Malik Willis gets so much better that he beats him out, and so Malik is truly the backup next year, then I can just release Dobbs and I'll save the $1.16 million. I don't think that's going to happen. And I got to have a better backup quarterback. I got to have a veteran. I got to have a guy that doesn't need any practice time, that Tannehill can go down and go right in the game and just run Tannehill's offense and do it competently. And Josh Dobbs did that. I thought he earned the ability to come back next season. Veteran minimum, $1.165 million. If somebody wants to give Dobbs more money, good for them, but I just can't do it. That leaves me with $7.527 million in cap space. Now, the Titans have already done this deal. They've already re-signed long snapper Morgan Cox, who was a Pro Bowl long snapper last year. And Ian, I don't know if you noticed, but he won the AFC kick-tack-toe this year.
I remember you mentioning that, yes.
By snapping the ball into the little spots.
That has to account for something.
I wanted to bring back Matt Overton, the long snapper before Morgan Cox. He was with the Cowboys last year, and I would have done a veteran minimum deal for him, 1 year, $1.165 million. You know, Vrabel really likes Morgan Cox. Last year he made about $1.2 million. I would love to see if they gave him more than the minimum, because I really would hate it. Even if it's a couple $100,000, I would really hate it if they gave him more than the minimum to long snap. Now, he's done a good job since he's been here, but Matt Overton's a great long snapper too. I really wanted them to bring back Matt Overton. I really liked Matt Overton. And so my plan before the Titans went ahead and re-signed Morgan Cox was 1 year, $1.165 million for Matt Overton, which takes us to a total of $6.362 million. Now, I have not gone out and signed a punt returner. And they've got to get a punt returner. They have got to, whether it's the draft or whatever. But for right now, just like with Brewer, just like with Petit Ferrer, going into the starting lineup for right now, Monty Rice, when I put him in there, he is starting next year. That is not for now. I'm not drafting a middle linebacker in the first round. Monty Rice is starting, period. These guys are starting for right now. Kyle Phillips, who kind of stunk in the one opportunity he got last year, he'll replace Robert Woods as the punt returner for right now. My other option is Hilliard. And, again, the draft, you know, receiver, corner, some kind of guy that can return punts. The other thing I did, and I don't know why they haven't done this yet, and I don't think they're going to do this, probably from a depth and numbers standpoint, I don't know. I'm releasing Jamarco Jones. I mean, they took this backup nobody from the Seahawks, signed him, and said that they were going to give him a chance to compete at guard and tackle. And then all of a sudden, he gets in a fight with Taylor Lewan at training camp, and then he's kind of average to below average in the preseason, and then he gets hurt, and he doesn't play the entire season. And he's due to make about $2 million, and I don't know why the Titans are doing that. Now, because they guaranteed him money for this year, which blows my freaking mind, they only gained $900,000 in cap space by releasing him. That's okay. I'll go ahead and do that. I'm releasing Jamarco Jones for my $900,000, which leaves me with $7.262 million on the cap. And at that point, I'm done. Now, I haven't filled all my holes, but I did fill my defensive tackle hole with T.R. Tart, bringing him back. I did fill my center hole with Aaron Brewer, bringing him back to replace Ben Jones. I did fill my wide receiver 3 spot by bringing back Nick Westbrook-Akine. I did fill my tight end 2 by bringing back Austin Hooper. I did fill my defensive end outside linebacker Bud Dupree spot by signing Samson Ebukam from San Francisco. I did fill my right guard hole left by Nate Davis by signing Gabe Jackson of Seattle. I did fill my left tackle without Taylor Lewan by signing left tackle Kelvin Beachum from the Arizona Cardinals. And I can still draft guys. I can still draft a left tackle here. I restructured Harold Landry's contract. I brought in Cameron Sutton from Pittsburgh, Mac Hollins, a wide receiver from the Raiders. I brought in Dontrell Hilliard at 1 year, $1 million to bring him back. Kyle Van Noy, 1 year, $1.25 million. And then I restructured Amani Hooker. I signed Josh Dobbs. I brought in Matt Overton. They signed Morgan Cox. And then I released Jamarco Jones. That leaves me with a total of $178.98 million in total cash, which keeps me 46.98 in terms of real money from last year's $217 million. And my Jeffrey Simmons contract would be $24 million in cash in year one. It would actually lower the cap hit. The Simmons deal I would offer, the 5 years, $112.5, the 60-something guaranteed, whatever that is, would actually lower. It would be $24 million in real cash. It would be 24, but that would only be in year one. Okay. And with that, we have a little breaking news in the NFL. So that's my official free agency plan. And still have draft needs in the offensive line, the wide receiver, the inside linebacker, and the kicker. Breaking news, Ian Rappaport reports from the NFL. Sources say the Bears are trading the number 1 overall pick to the Panthers in exchange for big-time compensation, including multiple first-rounders. Chicago loads up and lands at number 9, while Carolina can draft its quarterback of the future. So the Carolina Panthers have moved up from 9 to 1. So it is now Carolina at 1, Houston at 2, Arizona at 3, Indianapolis at 4. And I'm going to tell you the fallout of this in the draft, because this is a big draft fallout. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. I absolutely love Hiller. Sometimes replacing equipment in your home can be overlooked until something breaks. But there's actually big problems that can come from old, outdated, vintage HVAC systems. Older systems have higher repair costs, require more maintenance, and usually result in higher utility bills. Even worse, they can break down when you need them the most. This month during Hiller's Vintage Showdown, they're giving away a free HVAC system to the owner of the oldest unit. It's easy to enter. Just go online to happyhiller.com to submit a picture of your old unit. Plus, everybody wins with trade-in credits and 0% interest financing for up to 48 months on replacements. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. My guys, they take great care of my home. Proud supporters of the Nashville Predators, the Tennessee Volunteers, and the Vanderbilt Commodores. Hiller, call the Happy Face truck today. We will break down. We will continue. The number 1 pick has been traded by the Chicago Bears to the Carolina Panthers. We will explain the fallout, not just for those teams, but the entire draft. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Hi, I'm Jussi Saros. And this is Smashville.
Now here's a try off to the side. What a stop made by Jussi Saros there.
Unreal. You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network. ESPN 1025 The Game.
It's that time of year. The insanity, the madness, the tournament, the ingrates showing up at your house to watch the games and eat all your food. You want to be a good host, but you don't want to be rooting around in your refrigerator. Central Barbecue has the solution. Bulk order some Central Barbecue deliciousness and pick it up before those animals show up. Go to eatcbq.com and order what you need to feed the crowd and let Central Barbecue do the heavy lifting. This year, show your friends you care about them. Feed them Central Barbecue. 2 locations in Hillsborough and Capitol View. Smoke is our sauce.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Michelle Knesvik here for your SEC Men's Basketball Tournament Courtside Report, brought to you by Superbook Sports. When Missouri and Tennessee met earlier this year, the game went down to the wire, and Missouri hit 14 shots from the three-point line. And after a slow start from the three in this game, Missouri hit their last 5 of 6 coming out of halftime. Tennessee had about an 8-point lead, and Missouri was able to even it out very quickly after the 9-0 run that they went on. And Tennessee's biggest problem that Rick Barnes highlighted yesterday after their win over Ole Miss was turnovers. They allowed Ole Miss to get 19 points off of turnovers. And at the half, they had 10 turnovers and a couple more in the second half. The winner of this game will go on to play Alabama after Alabama had a huge win over Mississippi State in Bridgestone Arena today. This report is powered by Superbook Sports and Superbook.com. Download the Superbook Sportsbook app today and make your March basketball wagers matter.
102.5 and 106.3, The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3, The Game.
Hey Nashville, this is Dan Lebitard. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Breaking news, the Carolina Panthers will have the number 1 pick in this year's draft. Ian, I believe the compensation is the 9th overall pick, next year's number 1. Is it this year's number 2 or next year's number 2?
It is 20, I believe it is 61 also. Pick 61 this year as well.
Okay, so their second round pick this year, which is at the very end of the second round, I guess. Second round pick this year, and wide receiver DJ Moore. Now remember, DJ Moore is on that same level, at least compensation-wise, with A.J. Brown and Terry McLaurin and all of those guys. And so that money, $20 million, Chicago's got all this cap space, and they need to spend money. They needed to get Justin Fields, the number 1 receiver. They're doing that, and they still have a pick to be able to get him offensive line help or other things. For Carolina, the reason why I think they made this move is I think they've got somebody at number 1. Like that they've got one guy better than everybody else. Now, I told you all that I felt yesterday Houston picking at 2 probably has Young and Stroud similarly graded. If you've got Bryce Young at 97 and you've got C.J. Stroud at 96, is it worth it when you think they're the same caliber player to sit back at 2 and take C.J. Stroud? For Carolina, I think they probably had either C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young, whomever they take at number 1. I don't think you make this move for Will Levis, and I certainly don't think you make the move for Anthony Richardson. I think whoever they decided to take with this number 1 pick, they had them so high up on the board, or they were afraid to engage with Houston. Because if you engage with Houston, then all of a sudden, Houston's not going to trade out of that pick because they want a quarterback. Now they know that you're eyeing one of the quarterbacks. I mean, this had to be a move straight up with Chicago, in which it was 88 and out the gate if it got out. So the real loser in all of this, good good for Carolina. David Tepper is a rich man. He's the second richest owner in the league. He has demanded that they find a quarterback. They were sitting at 9. A lot of us thought they could move up to 5 and maybe get the 4th quarterback this year, whether it's Richardson or Levis or Bryce, whoever it may be. But they're not going to risk it. My gut is they're going to take C.J. Stroud. And that this was we don't want Houston to get him. We don't want Indianapolis to get him. Pull the trigger on the deal. 2 first-round picks for our quarterback to end this problem. And we'll give you a receiver because by the time our quarterback's good, we probably won't even have a use for DJ Moore anyways. I don't think it's a bad idea. If you love one of these 2 guys, and clearly they do, if you love one of these guys that much, they may love 3 of them, but figured that they couldn't get to number 5 with Seattle and take the 4th guy. So instead of risking it, they have pole position. They get whichever guy they want. Houston has to now get no better than their second, or no worse than their second guy. But if they like Young or Stroud one more than the other, they're not trading with Carolina to be able to move up and get that guy. So that I think was good. The team that it screws is the Colts. I mean, if you're Indianapolis, you thought you were probably going to end up picking at number 4 with either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. Do you really want Will Levis? Like, yeah, you're Indianapolis. You've decided enough Matt Ryan, enough Carson Wentz, enough trying all this. Anthony Richardson is at least a year away, maybe 2. Do we really want to draft Will Levis with the 4th overall pick? Now, Matt Jones came here from Kentucky Sports Radio earlier today, and he made every excuse in the book for Will Levis about, well, he didn't have any good players around him this season, and it's not his fault, and I hear that. But the dude did not throw for 200 yards and could not beat Vanderbilt. The dude did not throw for 100 yards when they lost to Tennessee. So I'm thinking to myself, if you're Indy, you probably thought you were going to be able to swing a trade to get either Young or Stroud to hop the Texans and get the quarterback you really liked. And now you're sitting there at 4. And I don't know how they have these quarterbacks graded. If they have 3 guys that they like, they better call Arizona right now and get up to 3 to be able to take the 3rd guy. Now, here's what I would do if I were Indianapolis. Now, I'm not Chris Ballard, a general manager who, when they don't win this year, fans will want to run out of town. Now, I don't know what job security he's got, but Shane Steichen does have job security as a new coach. Here's what I would do if I'm Indianapolis, and this just locks it in place for me if I'm Indy. I target Anthony Richardson. But now I've got to get on the horn, and I've got to sign Gardner Minshew on Monday. I have got to sign Gardner Minshew on Monday to come in here and be our quarterback so that when I draft Anthony Richardson with the 4th overall pick this year, that Gardner Minshew, I can get in front of the cameras, Shane Steichen from the Eagles, I can get in front of the cameras and I can say, Gardner Minshew is our starting quarterback. And then people will say, well, when's Richardson going to play or when's? Gardner Minshew is the starter. Richardson's going to sit on the bench. We're going to sign Dalton Schultz or Mike Gesicki, the tight ends in free agency. They've got cap space. We're going to go out and get Dalton Schultz. We'll pay him $11 million a season to go get Dalton Schultz and put him at tight end. We've got Michael Pittman. We've got Jonathan Taylor. And we are going to run the football with Jonathan Taylor, with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. Meanwhile, Shane Steichen from the Eagles puts in that Eagles offense. Gardner Minshew already knows how to run it as the backup there last year. Anthony Richardson will eventually be running Jalen Hurts' offense. They got to draft him another receiver, but he's got the tight end, Dallas Goedert. This would be Dalton Schultz. He's got one of the receivers, and I'm not saying that Michael Pittman's as good as A.J. Brown or as good as Devontae Smith, but he's good. So I've got one of the receivers, I've got the running back in Jonathan Taylor, and I have to go draft another receiver for Anthony Richardson for that Jalen Hurts-style offense. But I think the Indianapolis Colts woke up this morning, and they thought they were going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, and I'm not sure they thought they were going to stay at 4. I think they woke up this morning thinking that they were going to end up with either Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud. And now I think that is gone. My gut tells me Carolina's going with C.J. Stroud with the number 1 pick. Houston will go with Bryce Young. And if you're a Titans fan, you should be very thankful to the Carolina Panthers. And the reason that you should be very thankful to the Carolina Panthers if you're a Titans fan is because you had this big fear, and I know you did because I had it too, of Indianapolis ending up with Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud and him becoming a star, and Houston ending up with Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud and him becoming a star. And now you know today that one of those 2 teams, probably the Colts, is not getting Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud because Carolina's going to get one of those 2. Now, I still think Anthony Richardson has potential to be great. The one big caveat in that plan for Indianapolis is that Jim Irsay has to stay out of the way. That if they're going to take their time, Floyd drafted Steve McNair out of Alcorn State with the 3rd pick, and Steve McNair wasn't ready. And Floyd got up there and he said, this is going to take time. We're going to have 2 years he's on the bench. They brought in Chris Chandler. and Steve McNair sat the bench. And that's what you got to do with Anthony Richardson. But if you're Indianapolis, you got to pivot to Levis or Richardson. And please, if you're Indy, for your sake. Now, if you're a Titans fan, go ahead and do this. If Levis is not going to be as good as Richardson, and I don't know how to, these quarterbacks, I'm not a guru. If Levis is not as good as Richardson, like long term, don't rush it because, we need a quarterback right now. Don't do that. Do not do that. But Carolina, wow. Carolina up to number 1. Their first-round pick this year, which is 9. Their second-round pick, Ian, you said it's 61?
Correct, 61.
Why are they picking so late in the first round? Or second round? They suck.
I don't know. Maybe it wasn't their original pick. I'd have to look.
Clearly, I would doubt it's their original pick because, again, like I said, they stink, but who knows? And then DJ Moore in their first next year.
And a 2025 second.
And an extra second.
Yep.
DJ Moore's probably a first-round pick, so it's 3 1s essentially and 2 2s. Not a bad trade. By the way, Tennessee just fell to Missouri by the score 79-71. Rick Barnes in March. Well, he'll have the tournament for Tennessee to lose in the first or second round. But Tennessee falls to Missouri 71-79. 615-737-1025. So we got our Titans free agency plan in there. Now we've reacted to the number 1 pick. We'll get to your phones next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company, 1025-1063 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's never a good time for your furnace to go out, especially in the winter, but it's always a good time to call Lee Company. Our heating and air conditioning pros are available 24/7. No heat? Don't wait. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000. Our expert technicians will diagnose the issue and fix it right the first time. When you're cold, you need someone you can count on to bring the heat. Call Lee Company now at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
If you missed the latest from Stillman and Company.
So if you're going to have a player that challenges the league, it's got to be better than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson has 1 playoff win. Joe Burrow has 5 and was drafted 2 years after Lamar. Patrick Mahomes has 11. That's the kind of player that it would take to get the NFL off their tush, to change the way that they do business. It's not going to be Lamar Jackson, who's played 12 games each of the last 2 years. I mean, he thinks he's good enough for that? He thinks he's good enough to take away one of the strongest bargaining chips in all of professional sports in America, the non-guaranteed contracts of the NFL.
Stillman and Company, weekdays from 2 to 6 on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
In football, we all take our hits, but protection, that keeps you in the game. That's why I always wore a helmet and pads on the field. Life, too, comes with risks. So I got vaccinated and boosted for COVID-19. Hi, this is former Tennessee Titans tackle Brad Hopkins. Talk to your doctor. Get the information you need to make an informed choice. Gear up, Tennessee. Protect yourself and your family against COVID-19.
For more information, go to nflagearup.org/Tennessee.
For the love of Tennessee at dawn. For the love of the fight. For the love of having nowhere else you'd rather be. For the love of Tennessee. Travel safe. Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Tourist Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
They're insightful.
To me, you got a left guard situation you got to figure out.
Credible.
I trust this guy more than this guy.
But sometimes they just argue.
Why do you like the NFL playoffs? Those teams lose.
I don't want college football to be the NFL.
When they get...
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rex Road. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company, the Chicago Bears have traded the number 1 overall pick to Carolina for number 9, pick number 61, second-round pick, a first-round pick in 2024, a second-round pick in 2025, and wide receiver DJ Moore. That coming from Adam Schefter as the compensation package. And let me just say this. The Colts are absolutely screwed if they don't develop Anthony Richardson. I'm just not a Levis guy. And then Arizona is sitting at 3. We haven't even thought about this. Arizona is sitting at number 3. And Arizona could, in theory, be the team for Atlanta, for Vegas, for all of these other teams that have picks in the top 10 that are probably going to want to draft a quarterback that won't be able to draft a quarterback because Arthur's sitting there, I believe, at 8, and there's no way that he's going to be able to get ahead of all these teams to be able to do it unless they just trade up and give in a ransom to Arizona. So this trade is good for Chicago, in my opinion, because they got Fields, a true number 1 receiver, and they got picks to go around them, and they can still build on the offensive line. I think it's a good trade, obviously, for Carolina because instead of trying to force it, instead of just doing, getting down on your knees and doing whatever, finally just rip the Band-Aid off and go get your quarterback of the future. I don't think this affects the Texans too much. I think the Texans were fine at 2 because I think they look at both Young and Stroud and they say, you know what? We'll just take whichever one we don't get. I think this is terrible for Indianapolis. I think it's great for Arizona. I think it's terrible for Indianapolis. And I think this is going to hurt the Chargers a little bit, too. I mean, the Seahawks, too. At 5, I looked at that 5th pick as the last spot for a quarterback. But I honestly think there's a chance that quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, and 4 this year. And then maybe that would be good for Seattle because then Seattle gets the best player in this draft that's not a quarterback. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Our phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ian, does this not remind you of that Friday when San Francisco traded up a couple years ago, which ended up being the Trey Lance pick, but just out of nowhere, just bang, San Francisco just moved up to number 3?
Yeah, it does have a little bit of feel for that. Everyone was thinking the whole Mac Jones situation. Yeah.
Texter into the text line says, I like how everyone decided Young and Stroud will be good. The odds are against them both. No doubt. I mean, again, with these rookie quarterbacks, and neither guy was Andrew Luck in college. Neither guy. I think it's Stroud, by the way, that they're taking at number 1. I have no basis for that, just a gut feel. I think it's C.J. Stroud. And I do wonder if Frank Reich's knowledge of Indianapolis and Chris Ballard helped him propel themselves up to number 1. We have to do it, because I know Indy's going to take our guy if we don't get up there and do it. Maybe Frank Reich wants to develop Anthony Richardson. You know what I was just thinking about, though? Remember when we heard that the Titans had reached out for the number 1 pick a couple of weeks ago? And we were talking about how to get from 11 to 1? What would that have required of the Titans? The Titans don't have a player like DJ Moore on their roster. So, I guess you could argue to Joe's point Simmons. So it would have cost your first-round pick this year, your first-round pick next year, your second-round pick this year, 41, and probably your third-round pick next year, because your second-round pick is so much better than 61 that they got in this, and Simmons. Joe was not far off from, what it would take. And even then, I'm not sure Chicago would have. You probably would have had to give him something better in order to hop over Carolina to make up the difference. You know what? You would have had to give your next year second because that's the difference between 9 and 11 for this year. Damn. Would you have done it?
I don't know.
No.
It's a lot.
At least I have Tannehill at quarterback. Carolina, they've tried everything at quarterback. They can't win. Phone line's driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Texter says in there that no idea what this GM will do. That's Coy in Clarksville. Stay tuned. Texter says that going to 9 may mean that the offensive line run will start with the Bears. everybody needs offensive linemen every year. Now, Seattle had two rookie tackles last year, so I'm going to guess that they probably don't need an offensive lineman at 5. 6. Who's the crap team that's at 6, Ian?
I'm not sure. I'll have to double
Detroit.
Yeah, that's true.
Detroit has,
that is right.
they've got Penei Sewell, and they've drafted on the offensive line, so they don't need offensive line. Atlanta at 7. No, the Raiders at 7. Atlanta at 8. Chicago at 9.
I wonder if that means Chicago's another candidate to trade back at 9 if somebody falls there.
So I thought there was a chance that Chicago was going to trade back to 4 and then trade back again.
Right.
But
I wonder if they still could do that if a quarterback fell.
Don't you need to stay at 9? Like, don't you need to get one of the top players in this draft? You have the number 1. You need a day 1 starter that can be an impact player. I don't think you can trade to 16 and go out and pick somebody and say, okay, this is going to be where we feel comfortable. That,
Yeah. I mean, you just wonder, if they're willing to go back from 1 all the way, all the way to 9. I guess that's not terrible. You can still find a really good impact player at 9.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this reminds me a lot of the Titans trade with the Rams, where the Titans traded out of that first pick that ended up being Jared Goff. They got a first-round pick. I believe they got 2 first-round picks because they got the Jack Conklin pick. They got the Corey Davis pick. Now, just because they screwed up the Corey Davis pick doesn't mean that they didn't get it. They got, I believe, a 4th-rounder, which ended up being Jonnu Smith. They got a 2nd-rounder. They got 2 seconds, one of which ended up being Derrick Henry. So the Titans probably got more. Now, they moved to 15, and then they traded a second to move up to take Jack Conklin. I believe they took him 8th. So it's pretty similar. They'd already had the quarterback because they had drafted Mariota. So I think it's somewhat similar to what the Titans did in the Jared Goff thing in 2016. LD from McMinnville texts in and says, according to Jared, the Titans need at least 12 combined starters. Hold on, let's look this up. 1 left tackle, 2 left guard, 3 center, 4 right guard, 5 wide receiver 2, 6 defensive tackle, 7 inside linebacker, 8 corner. So they need 8 starters, not 12. They need at least 8 starters, and that's not counting the depth pieces. No, this team is not winning anything outside of 8, 9, or 10 games if they're lucky. Their schedule is easy. Don't forget about that. Their schedule is easy. It's a lot easier. The one game on the schedule where you say, boy, they can't win this one, is at home against Cincinnati. And they've lost by a combined 7 points to Cincinnati over the last 2 years. Now, I don't think they can beat Cincinnati. But the Ravens are at home on the schedule. Who knows what's going to happen with the Ravens? Who knows what the Ravens are going to do as far as their quarterback position is concerned? I still wonder what the Ravens are going to do as far as the QB position is concerned, with the backup. Because Huntley's an RFA, but if you sign him to a right of first refusal, someone's easily going to sign him. You're not going to be able to refuse it. If you tag him with a 2nd-round tender at $4 million, that's probably good for this year. But I don't know. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, will join us. We will react to, again, the big trade and the Titans starting free agency, and we'll do that next. 615-737-1025. We are live today from Bridgestone Arena. Tune in for SEC Men's Tournament updates on 1025 The Game, brought to you by Toyota. Buy at Toyota.com. Ready, set, go. Get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places. And let me be sure to tell everybody to join us live from the Rusty Nail next Friday, 1 week from today, for the opening round of the tournament. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts while watching some hoops during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. The Rusty Nail is located in Hermitage and provides a great local atmosphere with a large outdoor patio and volleyball courts, plus great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's 1025 The Game, live at the Rusty Nail at 4054 Andrew Jackson Way in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th. Doors open at 10 a.m.
All the big plays. All the big stories.
If you're not ready to play in this league, you will lose. I don't care who you're playing.
All in one place. We are Nashville's best sports talk. 1025 and 1063.
Because I love the sport.
We played the way we needed to.
Why would he make that move?
360, he slams it home. The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Time for the Preds Report.
The Predators lost in Arizona last night. Down 3-0 to the Coyotes late. They pulled UC Saros with just under 5 minutes left and were able to get on the board. Novak left side, across to Evangelista on the right, and the rebound's in. Cody Glass breaks the shutout. It's 3-1 with 2 minutes left. From there, the comeback fell short. Coyotes hit an empty net and won 4-1. The longest road trip of the season continues tomorrow night at 9:30 in LA against the Kings.
All the best car deals in Smashville start at Newton Nissan. Visit them at Newton Nissan of Gallatin or Newton Nissan South in Shelbyville.
This is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
From the beginning, they were applauded. The music that sold over 100 million records. Chicago, September 25th, First Bank Amphitheater.
Make me smile.
The music of Chicago.
Does anybody really know?
September 25th, First Bank Amphitheater. On sale now at livenation.com. Chicago, part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series. Buy tickets at livenation.com.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Seafood Sensation. Often imitated but never duplicated, Seafood Sensation is Nashville's original seafood restaurant. Right now you can get half off a $25 gift card to their new location in Antioch at thegamenashville.com/deals and enjoy some of your favorite seafood dishes like their crab legs platter, grilled salmon, and more. That's Seafood Sensation, new location in Antioch at 2209 Murfreesboro Pike. Get half off a $25 gift card while they last at thegamenashville.com/deals.
Now, your Game Center update.
Some breaking news in the NFL. The Chicago Bears are trading the first overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft to the Carolina Panthers. Chicago receives Carolina's 9th and 61st pick this year, a first-round pick in 2024, a second-round pick in 2025, and wide receiver DJ Moore. Another fun day at Bridgestone Arena as the SEC men's basketball tournament is in full force. In the first game, number 1 seed Alabama cruised by Mississippi State 72-49, and Missouri was able to take down the Vols by a final of 79-71. Vanderbilt is looking to make another case for their tourney chances tonight when they take on Kentucky. Coverage of the Vanderbilt Sports Network begins at 8 on 93.3 Classic Hits. The Tennessee Titans have released center Ben Jones and signed long snapper Morgan Cox to a new one-year deal. And the Nashville Predators' playoff chances took a hit last night with a 4-1 loss to the lowly Arizona Coyotes. The Preds are still 6 points behind Winnipeg for the final wildcard spot. The team announced that they have reassigned forward John Leonard to AHL Milwaukee. Nashville will look to rebound in LA on Saturday night against the Kings. I'm Ian Safar for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 1063.
A gunny performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Where you have a voice.
He had a competent coaching staff. You just play terrible and you keep playing.
And we have strong opinions.
What a whiny freaking crybaby response.
This is Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman. Presented by TriStar Moving on Nashville's best sports talk, 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, 1025, 1063 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to Superbook Sports, live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios at Bridgestone Arena for the SEC Men's Basketball Tournament. And our coverage is presented by Toyota. Buy at Toyota.com. Ready, set, go. Get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go. Places Fireball Hot Take Friday. Chad Withrow is with us. Outkick 360. You heard in Ian's update right there. The number 1 pick to the Carolina Panthers. The Chicago Bears get DJ Moore. They move to number 9. Chad, your reaction, and not just what it means for Carolina, but what about what it means for the Texans and, most importantly, the Colts sitting there at number 4?
Well, first off, it's a
Oh, we zapped Chad. Where was the first off? I was wondering what that was going to be. Do we have him? I'm guessing we don't. Oh, he seemed so excited, too. He was like, first off, and I was hoping that first off was going to be, first off. Let me just say this again. My take on the number one pick situation, good for Carolina. They're going to get one of these quarterbacks. Bad for Houston because now they don't get to pick which quarterback they get. Terrible for Indianapolis. Chad, your thoughts?
So I think it's great for Houston or Indianapolis if Carolina's dumb enough to draft Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, if that's who they want at number one overall. But, yeah, I mean, look, first and foremost, it's a huge day for Carolina and for the Bears. For Carolina, David Tepper gets to get that quarterback, franchise guy that he's sought after for so long. They have a chance to go draft the guy number one they want. And for Chicago, I mean, they're going to get a haul in return. And they now have so much cap room. They get a chance to just select their core for the next decade that they hope is going to be a very successful decade for that franchise. So big days for both of them. Look, if you're Houston and you're sort of going back and forth on Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud, you're obviously going to be fine with one of those guys going to you at number two. Jared, I don't think that the movement's done, though. I still think there's someone out there who's going to move up again. That's going to want to get number two overall to get their guy, or maybe they're going to move into Arizona's spot. Mm-hmm. I just don't think we're done with the movement in terms of those top 3 or 4 picks, and the quarterbacks are going to go off the board quickly.
So we heard a rumor that came out because you bring up moving number 2. I thought, no way, Houston moves off of number 2. But there was a rumor that started coming out last week that Houston's interested in Garoppolo. Could you see Houston going with Jimmy Garoppolo and passing on this year's quarterback class?
I think unless you're in love with one of these quarterbacks, that's the wise thing to do if you're Houston, because you still need so much if you're them. So you could have a stopgap of Jimmy Garoppolo, trade out, get a haul for it, and continue to build your base of what you want. And look, maybe there's a guy later in the first round that's a top 10 pick or in the someone you could get. Hendon Hooker could be an example of a quarterback next round that could be a possibility. Look, I asked for Houston. But if I'm them, I'm drafting the guy that's not picked number 1. That's what I'm doing. But maybe they don't love guys.
What do you make about the situation Indy finds themselves in? You joked about, if Carolina takes Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, they're crazy. I actually texted a former NFL coach over the weekend, and I said if I was Indianapolis with Shane Steichen as the coach from Philadelphia, I would sign Gardner Minshew tomorrow or on Monday, and then I would draft Anthony Richardson. And I would say Gardner Minshew's our starting quarterback. I'd sign Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys to be my Dallas Goedert. And I would put in Jalen Hurts' offense. Gardner Minshew knows how to run it. Shane Steichen knows how to coach it. And I would prepare Anthony Richardson to start in 2024 with Jalen Hurts' offense with Taylor, Pittman, and Dalton Schultz. What do you think about that for the Colts, or do you think the Colts are screwed?
So say that you cut out in the middle a little bit there, Jared. You're saying the Colts should do what for Shane Steichen's offense? Something with Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, so they should take the Jalen Hurts Philadelphia offense that Shane Steichen obviously knows how to coach, and they should put that in there for Anthony Richardson, sit him on the bench for a year, let Gardner Minshew show him how to do it, and then turn it over to Richardson.
Yeah, no, I think that would be that'd be interesting. I don't buy Anthony Richardson, but from a trait standpoint, there's a lot to like, obviously. With everything at the combine, that would make sense stylistically with what we were able to do with Jalen Hurts. But I don't know that that's the route they go. But if Shane Steichen is married, look, here's the thing with offensive guys: if they're good, they're not married to one style of a quarterback, right? They can adapt to whoever they want. They can go formulate an offense based around what the skill set is of different guys. So that should be Shane Steichen if that's the case. But I definitely see the similarities you're talking about of what he could do with Anthony Richardson.
What do you think, Chad Withers with his Outkick 360, what do you think about if you were Indianapolis, let's say Arizona goes Will Anderson with that 3rd pick. What do you think about, you have to pick between Levis or Richardson. Which one would you pick? Because I think you hate them both.
I mean, if you're saying if I'm Indianapolis or if I'm Arizona?
You're Indianapolis. Arizona goes Will Anderson. And so now you're at 4, and both quarterbacks are available.
Well, let me start by saying I don't hate them both. Like I see how teams might like, their traits physically. I have a hard time with Will Levis being number one overall or being considered that. And I have the same problem with Anthony Richardson. I can see why teams would like them. They're not bad quarterbacks, and they certainly have a high ceiling, especially Richardson. For that reason, for that high ceiling, I'd go Richardson over Will Levis, just because they both have faults and they're both very inconsistent and have accuracy issues at times. But look at the percentages. Anthony Richardson has way worse accuracy issues as opposed to Will Levis. But that being said, I think his ceiling is so much higher. That's the only guy I can remember that had a terrible completion percentage in college that changed his accuracy in the NFL. I do think Anthony Richardson has the ability to do that because of his physical qualities. If he does it, I don't know. If you ask me to pick one or the other, I'm Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm. Chad Withers with us, Outkick 360. Todd McShay's mock draft came out the other day, and he has the Titans taking Paris Johnson with the 11th pick, but he has Jalen Carter going with the 12th pick. Now, me and Ian put 10 minutes on the clock, and we debated through whether or not the Titans could take Jalen Carter. We researched in that 10 minutes, what was being said about the incident in Georgia in which got the teammate and the staffer killed and everything else. And it's really, really shameful what they were doing. And not the first time that I've heard of drag racing, period, but just so stupid. And yet at the same time, when we got down to the end of the 10 minutes, I just couldn't not take Jalen Carter over Paris Johnson. Let's say the Titans are in that situation. They don't have a need at defensive tackle, but Jalen Carter's there. Would you take Jalen Carter, or would you go with the need pick there?
Well, they may have a need at defensive tackle depending on what happens to Jeffrey Simmons based on what he's done with the social media. So if Jalen Carter's there, you take him, because Jalen Carter is a top 2-3 player in the draft talent. So if he falls to you, Titans have no issue taking guys with a checkered past. Jeffrey Simmons, a good example of that at defensive tackle, and where he fell to them. I think it's a very similar pick, honestly, Jared. I think it's a guy who's a top 5 talent that falls to you for issues off the field, and you snatch him up if you're the Titans, just like they did with Jeffrey Simmons. Very similar situation in terms of off-field issue, and then that's why he falls in the draft. There's also the injury with Jeffrey Simmons as well, I know. But I would take Jalen Carter if he was. I don't think he'll be there. I don't think it's going to affect his draft stock that much, honestly. But I would take him if he was there. But Titans need so much offensive line help. It's ridiculous.
So with that, the free agency opens up on Monday, and I've been told don't expect big names out of the Titans. I think they'll make moves. I don't think they'll get, like an Orlando Brown Jr. or something like that. But what do you expect out of the Titans as far as free agency is concerned? And with this news that they were shopping Derrick Henry, what do you make of kind of what they view their team as?
I think they're headed for a rebuild. I mean, look, this roster, if you trade Derrick Henry away because you're not eliminating a lot of cap space in doing so, you are announcing that, we're in full rebuild mode. And I only think the only reason that would make sense in terms of is if you're trading up, if it's an integral part of a trade to move up and draft the quarterback you want. I think you do it. If not, you don't do it. There's just not enough value in what you would gain for the salary cap to do that for the Titans. So, and I hope they don't do it with Derrick Henry. I think we're going to see complementary pieces. I don't think there's going to be – how many years have we said that, by the way, where don't expect big names with the Titans free agency with what we hear. I hear the same exact things. So I think it's just going to be offensive line help. There's going to be the spots that are obvious that they need some bodies, and then it's going to be guys that aren't going to get in.
Mm-hmm. Chad Withrow with us, Outkick 360 here on the program. Coming up on the other side, Rick Barnes in Tennessee lose again in the tournament. Although the SEC tournament's not the same as the NCAA tournament, we'll get his reaction to that against Missouri, and we'll also get his reaction to what Matt Jones had to say, and we'll do that coming up next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in, 615-737-1025. Also, we'll give something away after Chad because I'm in a good mood. We'll do that. Stillman and Company, 1025, 1063 The Game.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
3 ball, yes sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
Hi guys, it's Mark with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. Our wave technology is backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge University. It's been shown to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but will also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. This unprecedented offer is worth $600, but it's free to those who call in the next 2 minutes. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
When you want live and local.
If they were just better at the offensive line.
You can be a contender in the AFC again.
They've had more winning seasons than not. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game has you covered. Looking for some national programming?
Why do I want to get a running back like that 5 more years?
The AFC now is so deep at quarterback.
Check out 94.9 The Fan. Nashville's home for all things sports is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and 94.9 The Fan.
Finding great people to hire is like trying to find a needle in a haystack. It's pretty difficult, right? Well, ZipRecruiter has mastered finding a needle in a haystack, so they take it to the next level. They make hiring so simple that it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. And that's why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Here's what it's like to use ZipRecruiter. They have so many qualified candidates that it's easier to find the right ones for your roles. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. That's a lot of needles. So how do they do it? ZipRecruiter's powerful technology sends you candidates who are a great match for your job, and you can even invite your top choices to apply. So if you want less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We've had a good SEC tournament so far here at Bridgestone Arena. I mean, I thought last night's Arkansas-Auburn game right down to the wire was great. And today, Tennessee falling at the end, back-and-forth battle with Missouri. Tennessee falls to Missouri 79-71. Now, let me say this. As much as I would love to crap on Rick Barnes for losing a game in March, it's the SEC tournament. It's not the NCAA tournament, which is much bigger. But more importantly, it's just not as much fun, because Zakai Ziegler got hurt. I was so excited for the idea of Tennessee losing in the first or second round and the Tennessee fans being upset for the, week or whatever it was. But then when Zakai Ziegler got hurt, it just kind of took the fun out of it. Chad Withrow's with us, Outkick 360. Chad, your reaction? I mean, Missouri was seeded higher than Tennessee, but I'm not sure Missouri was better than Tennessee. But they have now beaten Tennessee twice, and they beat them tonight 79-71. What's your reaction to it?
Well, I think that the SEC tournament, at least from Tennessee's standpoint, is no real precursor to what's going to happen next. Bingo. I mean, they won the tournament last year and looked great, shot it well, and then they get bounced in the second round. So I'm not going to say now they lost, so they're going to lose early next week, and this is going to happen. I mean, who knows? But I will say this. Without Zakai Ziegler, Tennessee does not have a primary ball handler. I can't think of many teams that have done well in the tournament when that happens. When you combine that with Rick Barnes' track record in the NCAA tournament, probably going to get bounced in the first round, right? And that's what I saw again today. Tennessee lacks closers, too. I think it's a great group of guys that are good basketball players, that play hard. They play really good team defense. but they don't have closers. I watch Missouri today, and I see Nick Honor, and I see Hodge. I see some of these guys. They're closers. Kobe Brown, closer. They can go into him at the free throw line extended, and he goes to work, and he goes and gets buckets late in games. Tennessee lacks that guy. So when the game was great and it was close and back and forth, when it gets down the last 2.5, 3 minutes, they don't have that guy to go win them a game in a big spot like that. They can go get a bucket. I think Julian Phillips should be better at that. I don't really understand the 5-star freshman. I mean, he should be more assertive at this point. He's probably the one guy that's capable of going and getting a basket or getting to the free throw line on his own.
You don't think Josiah Jordan-James can do that?
I don't think he can. I just don't think he's that type of player. And look, he's very hit or miss, right? Yesterday he couldn't miss from three. Against Ole Miss, they couldn't hit anything. So that's sort of the story with him. Josiah Jordan-James, yes, he has the skill set to do that at times. I just don't think he's a closer-type player for Tennessee. So this was one of those – I would describe today's game as fun for this reason. There's no true stake. It's not like the loser of the game isn't going to be in the tournament, and I don't think it really affected either seed all that much. Maybe it helps Missouri notch up a spot. Maybe it knocks Tennessee to a 4, but I doubt it. But it was intense. I mean, I like it because there's just really pride on the line at this point. Big tournament's next week, but both teams played really hard. Missouri was just better down the stretch. I thought this was a good matchup for Tennessee. I didn't think Missouri would shoot 60% from three and win them a half quarter, the way they did in Knoxville earlier this year. But Missouri proved a lot to me this year. It really does shock me that Dennis Gates is not a co-coach of the year. When you consider he inherited a team, Jared, that had 12 wins and had one contributor returning. And he hit the transfer portal hard. And in year one, they are comfortably in the tournament. He's done a heck of a job in year one. And that's no knock at Jerry Stackhouse, who has done a really good job with this Vandy team late in the season. But Jerry Stackhouse in year 4. And they still need to win tonight to probably get to the NCAA tournament. So I just think the job Dennis Gates has done has been really good. That guy can coach. I think Missouri is going to be good for a while as long as he's the coach.
The thing with me, Chad, is that, and I talk about Zakai Ziegler's injury taking the fun out of it from the standpoint that, if Tennessee were to lose in the second round of the tournament, if they had Zakai Ziegler, that would be an absolute unequivocal disappointment for Tennessee fans with another NCAA tournament that they just don't advance, to the level they think they're capable of. But without Ziegler, it's like, they don't have probably their most important player on the team, or at least one of the most, kind of the backbone of what they do. You said the only real ball handler they have. As a fan of Tennessee, does it kind of take some of the excitement of the NCAA tournament out of it for you, knowing that Tennessee's limited without Ziegler?
I think anytime your team's in the tournament, it's exciting, especially if you're going to be a top 4 seed like Tennessee will be. So I don't know that it eliminates excitement. It does eliminate expectation. A year ago, my expectations and everyone else were high because I thought, well, now they've got the guard that can close games in Kennedy Chandler. They didn't have the injury problem. That Kama was out, but you didn't think that was going to be a killer to them. They were hot at the right time. They beat Arkansas in the last game of the regular season. They go in and they win the SEC tournament for the first time since 1979. And you say, well, here's a great chance. And I saw that Michigan 11 seed, and I thought that might not be ideal if they beat Colorado State in the first round. It turns out Michigan, a very talented team with multiple NBA guys, they got them in the second round. Bad matchup. Tennessee didn't play that well either, and they were out. So I look at this year's team, Jared, without Ziegler, and it just lowers my expectation. Do I expect them to get bounced in the first round? No. They should beat whoever they play in the first round. But do I expect them to get to the Sweet 16? It's impossible for me to say that because, again, they don't have a primary ball handler. They're going point guard by committee right now. And as good as Vescovi's been, and he can do so many different things, he's not a point guard. I mean, he's just not. So that's what's eventually going to get Tennessee, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Chad, what do you make of Vanderbilt and their situation? Let me say this. I have had a lot of fun watching Vandy the last month, and I really do enjoy watching this team play. I hate that Liam Robbins is hurt, but this Ezra Mayone at point guard, he is freaking nails out there. They've got a bunch of experienced guys like Jordan Wright. I mean, they've already beaten Kentucky at Rupp lately. That doesn't mean they're going to beat them today. It's a big one. You said they got to win tonight probably to get in the tournament, but your thoughts on Vandy so far, what you've seen lately?
They've been great. I mean, they've been terrific. And tonight's atmosphere is going to be awesome because there's going to be tons of Kentucky fans, and it'll be, Kentucky dominated. Mm-hmm. But, Jared, everyone in that building that's not a Kentucky fan, not just the Vandy fans, they're going to root for Vandy.
Oh, yeah.
In the building. So it's going to make for a great March Madness type atmosphere in that game. Vandy's been terrific. I mean, they've won, 9 out of 10 now. I think their lone loss being LSU is the real killer because that's one of the worst teams net ranking-wise in the SEC. But it's been fun watching this group. We heard all year from different coaches about all the great offensive sets Jerry Stackhouse runs, and it finally started to pay off late in the year for this team. And they're on a heck of a run. I do think if they win tonight, I think they're going to the tournament. And I'll go ahead and predict it. This team has a lot more to play for than Kentucky. And the way they've played, winning 9 out of 10, winning in rough recently, I think Vandy gets it done tonight. Even when Liam Robbins went down early in that game against Kentucky, they've essentially beat them before without him on the road. I think Vandy wins tonight, and I think they punch their ticket.
So it's funny you say that because Matt Jones was on our show earlier today, and he said that he thinks, and I actually agree with this take, if Vandy had not beaten Kentucky last week, he thinks Vandy would have won this game tonight. But to your point about Vandy having more to play for, I do think that Vandy having beaten Kentucky last week probably has awoken Kentucky in this game tonight. If I'm a Vandy fan, that is one thing that's bothering me, is that I beat Kentucky last week, and you know that Kentucky was mad about losing to Vandy last week.
Well, I think so. For that to happen, Oscar Tshiebwe's got to dominate. I mean, I look at that and I think, Vandy doesn't have the guys to match with him. He's the defending player of the year. He's played like it at times this season, but not enough. I think Tshiebwe is a huge factor tonight. That's the one I could see being a real problem for Vandy. Is if he's playing well, he's dominating the offensive glass. That's going to make life hard on Vanderbilt this game. But I'm just looking at the way teams have played and the way they look right now. I think Vandy's got a great chance at pulling it off tonight. I think they win, and I think that probably will be enough. I don't think they have to beat A&M tomorrow to get in the tournament. I think that tonight could punch their ticket.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360 with us. Matt Jones on our program earlier today. We talked about basketball, and I said, look, right now, Tennessee, the last couple of years, they've been better than Kentucky. I know Kentucky beat Tennessee twice this year, but the Tennessee's kind of – and I asked him, I said, your thoughts on where Kentucky is and Tennessee in basketball? Here's what Matt Jones said.
Kentucky is like a prime steakhouse, right? You go in and you expect amazing steak. And if on one night it's not great steak, you're disappointed because you're used to great steak. Rick Barnes and Tennessee are like Applebee's. You know what you're getting. You're going to go in, you're going to get some flaming fajitas. They're going to be fine. The bourbon chicken is fine. You're not expecting a great meal. So if you go to the second round or the Sweet 16, it's fine. It's like, hey, I went to Applebee's. I had a nice, margarita, and we all go home.
Your thoughts?
I mean, if that's the case, then, John Calipari is just the overpriced steakhouse with a big name, where you go and spend a ton and you're left disappointed in the end, because that's the way things have trended for John Calipari. Look, he's right. As this is, there's no denying it. He doesn't have a good tournament record, but I continue to argue on behalf of Rick Barnes that I heard a stat that Tennessee's won, I want to say 23 or 24 games, whatever their total is, 22, 23. They've done that like 9 times in the program's history. I think 4 of them have been Rick Barnes teams, and this year is another one of them. I've seen Tennessee basketball not make the tournament year after year before in my lifetime. I don't want to go back to that. Mm-hmm. Rick Barnes runs a great program. They consistently win. They consistently contend in the SEC, and they fail in the NCAA tournament. I would rather they do well in the NCAA tournament. I'm not making excuses for Rick Barnes on that. But I'm fine with that if the program's routinely in the tournament and giving themselves a chance. So I think Rick Barnes did a great job at Tennessee. People like to knock him for the tournament record. I get it. It's not good, but I would take him over the alternative. I meant
to ask you this, and I forgot. Chad Withrow's with us. I have been very anti-Jerry Stackhouse. That I didn't think that Jerry Stackhouse, he had no college background other than playing for Dean Smith 30 years ago. on his resume when he got the job. I don't think, for the first 3 years he really did anything. I don't think he really did anything at the beginning of this year. I was not a huge Jerry Stackhouse fan. He's won some games. He's done a good job. They're a fun team to watch. But everybody is asking me now, whether it's Joe or Derek Mason, or they're like, what do you think of Jerry Stackhouse now? And I'm like, can we get to an NCAA tournament first before we start taking victory laps around here? I mean, because if Vandy loses tonight, they may not make the NCAA tournament. What do you think about the people that want to now take a victory lap for Jerry Stackhouse?
Well, the only problem with Jerry Stackhouse's season is the beginning of the season counts just as much as the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way the college basketball season works with resume, and he has losses to Grambling and Southern Miss. There's some bad losses on there the way this thing started. 4 years. This is year 4, right? So 4 years.
Yep.
And possibly no tournament in 4 years. That's not good. That gets most coaches fired. Now he has a chance to get to the tournament tonight. So we don't know they're not going to make the tournament in year 4. He's done a great job this year. He's turned it around. It's not easy when you started out the way they did. They get pounded in just an absolute rout at Alabama and turned things around, really kind of starting with that buzzer beater to beat Tennessee in a crazy ending to that game. He's done a nice job, but does it change everything else he's done that got people, you, me, others criticizing him? No. I mean, those seasons count too. Those games early this year count. If they didn't count, they'd be in the tournament. They'd be a lock. They'd be no doubt, right? But all of those things count for him and against him. So I find the victory lap funny that, he won a co-SEC Coach of the Year when, as I said before, I think you can make a case for Dennis Gates. Done a nice job. Still need to see more. Want to see them again next year. If this continues, this momentum into next year, then Vandy's going to look smart for giving him that big extension.
I will say this
before this season.
I will say this about Dennis Gates in Missouri. I did not know who that was until today. And then after seeing what they did last year, how bad they were and how good they've been this year and how they did well in the SEC and they won today, I'm on board with your take about him. I mean, if Missouri was that bad and they have a respectable team that's going to comfortably make the tournament, I mean, he should have been. Add him in as the third SEC coach of the year.
Well, he's got strong Bruce Pearl first-year Tennessee vibes to him, where he inherited a very mediocre to low program under Buzz Peterson, and immediately they were fun. They were running and gunning. They were shooting threes. They were full-court pressing. Gates runs sort of a similar style of pressure and moving the ball up the court quick and taking a bunch of threes, and it clicked in year 1 with a bunch of new guys. So it's a remarkable job that he's done at Missouri. I think they're going to be good for a long time.
Chad Withrow, Outkick 360, as always, joining us. Chad, thank you. We'll talk next week ahead during the NCAA tournament.
All right, have a great weekend. Thanks.
Yep. Vandy, Tennessee's out. Vandy has a shot to make the NCAA tournament tonight. Tonight is, all those play-in games they have that nobody really watches, and then if you've got nothing else to do, you find yourself trying to figure out where the hell True TV is because you want to see, this Grambling Tech versus Appalachian Longshore, and you're like, put it on. That is what Vandy is playing in. They are playing in one of those play-in games tonight against Kentucky. Jerry Stackhouse has to have it, in my opinion, for the pro-Jerry crowd. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company right here, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Fireball Whiskey. I love Fireball Whiskey. It goes down so smooth, and it tastes so great. We've got fine folks. I'm going to guess you folks are from Arkansas. I'm going to guess you folks are from Missouri. And let me tell you, when you're here, you want to make sure to enjoy ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey. That's right. Fireball Whiskey goes down so smooth, and it tastes so great. That's right, ma'am. Crack it open, and there's no better way to celebrate a big victory than with an ice-cold Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey shot. That's right. Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey goes down so smooth and it tastes so great. Please be 21 years or older, and please enjoy responsibly. That's Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey.
I think it's a really good move.
TD, it's never the offseason for ESPN's Teron Davenport.
I mean, that's something you obviously have to look at.
He's always talking about what's next for the Tennessee Titans.
Quarterback is a really important thing that they have to get determined.
Check out TD, Mondays at 1, Thursdays at 3, and Friday mornings at 8:30. Plus, the Talkin' with TD podcast.
Looking forward to that.
TD is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
What if you could be credit card debt-free in 10 days and save as much as $1,000 a month? Loan Pronto's all-new Express Equity Line of Credit program is just what you need. Hey, Willie Donick here. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a small portion of the equity you have and enjoy a super low monthly payment. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. And a $50,000 loan would only cost you around $400 a month. Use that money to pay off high-interest credit cards or do a home improvement. You can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and 9 out of 10 homeowners won't even need an appraisal. Even if you did a total refi recently or just bought your home, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program. Stop the madness and say no to 24% interest fees. Call Loan Pronto today. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Pierce the veil and the used together in one night. Creative Control Tour, May 31st at Nashville Municipal Auditorium with special guests John Bracco and Death by Romy. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Don't miss Pierce the Veil and the Used live.
It's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale. Truckloads of new model merchandise from all their factories arriving daily.
Okay.
Spas from Artesia and Catalina and American Select Spas as low as $29.99. All their new patio furniture styles, Hanneman, Tropitone, and Woodard are on sale.
That's interesting.
Family Leisure has factory direct pricing on pools. 24-foot pools starting as low as $29.99 installed.
Grills, smokers, and grill islands are on sale too.
That's right. That's Family Leisure's Factory Direct Sale going on now.
Both locations, Antioch and Franklin.
Join 102.5 The Game live from the Rusty Nail in Hermitage on Friday, March 17th.
And the three is good.
Take in the first round of games during a St. Patrick's Day celebration. Enjoy $3 two-lane beer drafts all month long during the tournament.
Yes! What a shot!
Plus a great local atmosphere with a big back patio and volleyball courts. There's also great drinks and great food, especially the wings. That's Friday, March 17th at the Rusty Nail in Hermitage. Doors open at 10.
Hey, it's ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck on Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Vandy, you all have the best dressed coach. You have I hate that Liam Robbins got hurt. That sucks. But you have the worst ponytail in the league. So you should take solace in that. But otherwise, I thought Jerry Stackhouse was gone.
Vandy is good.
They are good.
It's a good team this year.
And if Kentucky had not lost to them last week, I would pick Vandy tonight. But I think because Kentucky lost last week, they show up tonight and win.
There you go. That was Matt Jones, Kentucky Sports Radio, on our show earlier today, and I agree. And let me say this. Vandy basketball, when I was a kid, I used to freaking love Vandy basketball. I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble or not, but when I was a kid, I remember we went to Las Vegas for like a family trip, and Vandy was playing in the NIT against Villanova. And my dad went to the sports books and put in a bet on Vandy basketball for me at like 13 years old. Now, they ended up losing that game, but I lived through the Kevin Stallings era. If there's anything that says that I grew up a huge Vanderbilt fan, it's that the Kevin Stallings, the win 1 year, be terrible for 3 years, win another year, I was used to that. And Jerry Stackhouse, I have been against since the day they hired him. And this has been the best Vandy basketball has been in what feels like eons. It feels like this is the best Vandy basketball has been since they won the SEC tournament in 2012, and Kevin Stallings cried into the towel, and we were all stuck with him for another handful of years. This team is freaking good. They got a point guard, Ezra Majan, who I absolutely freaking love to watch. They've got, I love watching Jordan Wright play. I think Miles Studi's a good shooter. They've even got, now that Liam Robbins is hurt, they've got this kid, Melora Brown, who is just a freaking, just a lunk in there. But, boy, I watched the Mississippi State game. I went there, and Mississippi State has Tulo Smith, that big center who's really, really good. And, I mean, Melora Brown hung with him the whole game. I enjoy watching Vandy basketball again. This is the first time that I have enjoyed watching Vandy basketball since maybe Bryce Drew's first year, but probably, honestly, since, 2013. But it's all for naught if they don't win. That's the depressing part. It's like Chad Withrow just said. He said the thing about Vandy is it doesn't matter how great you're playing at the end of this season. The other games earlier in the year still count. And I still think from a tangible standpoint, I don't know who's going to be on the team next year. When I was a kid, if you were a sophomore and you weren't a great NBA prospect, and Vandy never had great NBA prospects when I was growing up, but if you were a sophomore and you weren't a great NBA prospect and you played well at the end of the season, we'd get excited because you'll come back next year as a junior. Now with these kids, with NIL and transfer portals and G Leagues and everything else, I don't know who's coming back. I don't know who's transferring to another school. I don't know any of that. So I don't know that Vandy's going to be able to take what they accomplished at the end of this year and bring it into next year, which means they have to have something tangible to show from this year, which means that they have to make it to the NCAA tournament. I listened to Willie Donick earlier today, and Caroline asked him, okay, what happens if they win? What happens if they lose? Willie knows all this stuff like these net rankings and everything else. And he said if Vandy loses tonight, he thinks they've got a 25% chance of making it to the NCAA tournament. He thinks if they win, they have like an 80 or 90% chance of making the NCAA tournament, which means that, in my opinion, tonight is literally an NCAA tournament game for Vandy. This is essentially an elimination game. This is like on Sunday Night Football, that last game of the football season when it's, if Green Bay beat Detroit, Green Bay's in the playoffs. It feels like that's what tonight's Vandy versus Kentucky game is going to be. And I do think the atmosphere tonight is going to be wild. And I think every Arkansas fan that's in here, every Texas A&M fan that's in here, hell, I think even Tennessee fans that are in here that are going to the games tonight are going to be rooting for Vandy because they'll be rooting against Kentucky. Now, Kentucky will have a lot of fans here, no doubt. But this is the game that Jerry Stackhouse has to win. When I showed up here this afternoon, D. Mace looked at me because I've been on D. Mace. D. Mace just thinks Jerry Stackhouse is a great coach. And every time he's brought that up, before at least right now, I've always said to him, what makes Jerry Stackhouse a great coach? Don't be telling me Jerry Stackhouse is such a great coach. I mean, Jerry Stackhouse, he hadn't done anything. And so today I show up, and D. May says to me, what do you think of Jerry Stackhouse now? And I'm like, can we make the NCAA tournament first? Kevin Stallings made the NCAA tournament in his fourth season, which is this year for Jerry Stackhouse. In fact, because I remember so much random crap, I remember that Vanderbilt played Ole Miss in the first round of the SEC tournament, and they beat Ole Miss. And it was like, okay, now we think they're in. Then they played Mississippi State in the second game, and Mississippi State was freaking loaded that year. This was 2004. Mississippi State was loaded, and Vandy somehow, some way, ended up pulling through on that Friday night and beating Mississippi State. And I remember as a young kid living in Nashville, Tennessee, just the joy I got in the front page of ESPN.com saying Misstep State. And I can still remember that to this day. Vandy needs that kind of win. Kevin Stallings that year got to the Sweet 16. And I said that to D. Mace. I said, well, Kevin Stallings got to the NCAA tournament his fourth year. Kevin Stallings got to the Sweet 16, and I don't want Kevin Stallings. I want better than Kevin Stallings. And D. May said, well, but Kevin Stallings was a really good coach. Says who? Kevin Stallings was a very average coach. He was a very Vanderbilt coach. I don't know why I feel like Vanderbilt basketball should have this sense of, try to be like Villanova. Maybe that's a stretch. try to be like a team that consistently makes the NCAA tournament. You got to start somewhere, and you got to start tonight. And as much as the Vandy fans, and I have not seen Vandy fans fired up about anything in a long time, except for that one time a year that we have the talk about college baseball and people call in and get all mad. And honestly now, because Vandy's won national championships in baseball, the Vandy fans get more mad about Tennessee and about Tennessee baseball winning, and then when Tennessee baseball loses, their enjoyment of that, they get more into that than they do like maybe even rooting for Vandy. This is the most fired up I've seen Vandy in a long time. Their student section the other night against Mississippi State, freaking packed. So it's a long-winded way of me saying, like, hey, you all want to take the Jared Stillman was wrong victory lap, and I'm not ready to go there. You all want to say, hey, what do you think of Jerry Stackhouse now? And I think Jerry Stackhouse has done a good job. But I'm sorry. You got to make the tournament at least once before we can say, okay, you are an established, set coach. And tonight, they get their shot. They're going to be playing Kentucky, like Matt Jones said, and I agree with him. I think Kentucky's going to win tonight. Now, I don't think they're going to cover the 8.5, and I think it's nuts that Vandy was 4.5-point favorites against that crap LSU team last night, and they're 8.5-point dogs against UK today, and I don't even think Kentucky's that good. But I do agree with Matt Jones. I think Kentucky's going to win tonight, and I think they're going to win because they're mad that Vandy won last week when Liam Robbins got hurt. Boy, that was a fun and exciting game. Fun and exciting. But this is the chance. This is the chance to prove everybody wrong, at least for right now. This is the chance to get into the NCAA tournament and reward your fans for sticking with you through the tough times, and boy, these times have been tough. This is your chance if you're Vandy. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Live from the SEC tournament. I have got to rip the SEC about something. And we will do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Magnon all the way to the rim.
The Commodores look to continue their winning ways in the SEC tournament. What can SEC Co-Coach of the Year Jerry Stackhouse and his team accomplish? Catch all the action on your home for the Commodores. 93.3 Classic Hits. And right here on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota. Like Corolla Cross, the first ever Corolla SUV, or the best-selling Toyota Camry, now available with all-wheel drive. And you can get 3.99 APR financing on a new 23 Camry, now through April 4th. With approved credit through TFS, excludes TRD and hybrids. And every new Toyota comes with 2 years no-cost maintenance. Get complete details at buyatoyota.com. Ready, set, go get your Toyota today. Toyota, let's go places.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willie, and D Mace 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Your chance to get that rare, hard-to-find luxury pre-owned Rolex timepiece is here at Genesis Diamonds. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Genesis is hosting an epic pre-owned luxury Rolex event featuring a stunning new selection of these hard-to-find watches. Hulks, Submariners, Daytonas, Pepsis, Batmans, all the hottest models that people wait years for. These are carefully chosen timepieces in pristine condition. It's time to treat yourself for something great. And listen to this. With the purchase of any luxury pre-owned Rolex at this event, Genesis will give you a beautiful pair of 2-carat lab-grown diamond stud earrings of the highest quality free. That's a $6,000 value. Also for this event, our pre-owned Rolex buyers are on site offering top dollar for your Rolex. Come see the largest selection of luxury pre-owned Rolex watches in the state and take advantage of our special financing and get a 2-carat lab-grown pair of diamond stud earrings of the highest quality valued at $6,000 absolutely free. This Thursday, Friday, and Saturday only, and only at Genesis Diamonds, your home for luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Green Hills and Cool Spring. While supplies last, see store for details.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company, presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
12 minutes to go until Texas A&M tips off with Arkansas here at the SEC basketball tournament. That's right. Somebody texted me something and I'm like, I don't even know what it meant. Anywho, so we're here at the SEC basketball tournament. I have got one thing that is just it's just driving me crazy that I have to get off my chest. I do need to give away these tickets though, because I did promise that I would do that and I forgot. So be caller 5 right now at 615-737-1025 and you'll win a pair of tickets to see Chicago at First Bank Amphitheater on September 25th. Tickets are on sale now. That's Chicago at First Bank Amphitheater on September 25th. Good luck, 615-737-1025. So there is something that just breaks my heart. Just a stick up my tush. And that is these archaic alcohol rules that the SEC has. So we're inside a barrel house. So in order to drink on the lower level at the SEC tournament, I believe that you have to walk like around the corner and into barrel house. And they've got all these curtains up here that are like to keep you away from being visible in the main concourse. So if you want to go grab a beer, you can't go back to your seats, I believe, and sit there and drink your beer and watch the game. It's 2023. Why is it taking so long? What is this moral high ground the SEC has that has it where you can't have a beer and watch the game? I mean, when I was coming through here, Tennessee was either about to play or they were at halftime, or I can't even remember exactly what it was. And it was packed in here inside a barrel house. And it's like, everybody's pinched in here like a can of sardines. And it's like, why? It's like, why is the SEC telling people we don't want you to drink at the games? What is this moral high ground that the SEC has? I mean, I know back in the day, people used to think that alcohol and having sex and, smoking weed and gambling, that it's just so incredibly amoral. That like all those things were, how dare you gamble? Like, who cares? So you like to spend your money at Sephora, or you like to spend your money on hunting equipment, or you like to spend your money on ball game tickets. Maybe somebody wants to spend their money on blackjack. Maybe somebody wants to spend their money on, I think this team's going to score more points than the other team. What's so bad about that? And I say this every time we talk about Fireball. I always say, please drink responsibly. Be 21 years or older to enjoy. I always say that. But in all seriousness, like, you can't go to the game and have a beer at this giant arena. It's big-time sports. And why, though? It's not like people could take a beer from the concourse and go down to the court and give it to one of the players. I understand the college players, they might be 18, 19 years old. So might be some of these guys playing hockey. They might be 18, 19 years old. So somebody's got to tell me why the SEC's like, you can drink in one place, but you can't drink over there, and you can do. Somebody's got to explain to me what the point of this is. It's like these states that don't allow gambling. It's like, nope, we can't have sports gambling. Why not? Why can't we have sports gambling? It's a whole nother story. I don't want to get into the whole marijuana thing, but, You can have the almost weed Delta 8 gummies, but you can't have the real weed Delta whatever gummy. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous. And I got to tell you, this SEC basketball tournament, I do not understand what makes this so different than every other event I've been here, but it is like a freaking madhouse every time we host this tournament. It's a madhouse around the arena. It's a madhouse inside the arena. I mean, it is something, I can't explain it, but I cannot get over. I mean, look, for me, I'm one of these guys with basketball where, honestly, until the Super Bowl's over, I'm not sure I'm really paying much attention. I got enough on my plate with football and college football and hockey and everything else. And so then finally football season's over. Now we're starting to heat up a little bit on the March Madness, and I get excited about that. And so now I'm starting to get to know some of these teams. I enjoy watching Vandy play. I watch Arkansas play a lot. You know, Arkansas drives me a little crazy. They drove me crazy last night. Now, I was telling these Arkansas fans earlier today, I said, you know, now that I've like kind of become an Arkansas fan, just watching Arkansas, I can't tell you how hard it is to root for them sometimes because they just lose in the most just spectacular ways. You Tennessee fans think you have it bad. Try being an Arkansas fan with some of the ways, you know, you'll see a score with football or basketball where Arkansas loses a game and, oh, yeah, they should have lost to number 16, whatever. And it's like, no, if you watch how they lost, how painful it is. So I love this tournament. I do. But what, you can't drink. There's a curtain that keeps you out from you can drink in here, but you can't drink out there. Why? What's the morality there? Are you a better person in life because you sit in your seat and don't drink a beer during college basketball, but an NBA game, Super Bowl, preseason football, a lot of the colleges sell beer. I mean, I remember the SEC didn't sell beer and the NCAA didn't sell beer, and I just assumed they never sold beer in college, and then I went to college at Louisville, and all we did was sell beer. So that thing kind of drives me a little crazy. We did have our Titans free agency preview earlier today before everything went off the handle. If you missed that, you can listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Just search Stillman & Company. But again, what I've been told is do not expect the Titans to make big splashes. Chad Withrow was on earlier this hour. He said the same thing, that he's been told do not expect big splashes in free agency for the Titans. Why are you pumping me with the music? Oh, my bad. That is true. You put 56 up there. Anywho, we will have that full reaction on Monday to what the league is doing, what the Titans are doing, and we're excited for it. Everybody enjoy the basketball this weekend. Stay safe. We'll see you all Monday at 2.